Awesome, man. Well, it's good to have you again, man. It's my first, round two of an episode with one of my guests. So, I mean, for those of you who have not heard the previous episodes, Kawa, he was on our podcast, what, about 6 months ago or so.
Yeah,
Yeah, right before the
it's
holidays.
like October.
Yeah, actually, damn, more than 6 months ago now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
October, November.
it's been a minute. I feel like there was a lot of stuff we talked about, but we didn't go so deep into it. And I think
Yeah,
that now, just from that time to now, like there's been so much that has added, and a lot of that has to do with. I also think your personal views on how you speak about events and stuff. And I'm not saying that in a mean way, but I'm saying that is in somebody of your magnitude with your background. I would love to see more guys like you start coming out and talking about these topics, especially when we're currently living in a nation with everybody being in shambles about these things and fighting each other. And
right.
like it's crazy to see all that. Like with these LA riots, for example, it's just like I told people, that's exactly where your government wants you, against each other, because then they have the power up there, when we're separated. So yeah, man, I really am excited to have you back on. I know I had a couple of questions that have come across from friends that said, ask him this on the podcast. So that was really cool,
Nice.
because I've got a lot of feedback from our last episode. And I know you remember this in the beginning. It was, I messaged you like, dude, guys are talking shit to me and stuff. Like,
Yeah,
I got a lot of heat,
yeah.
but I
You were
also got
asking me how I handled that.
yeah.
Yeah,
And because I think your episode was the moment for me to learn to not take this shit personal, what people have to say.
right.
Because before we would finish up an episode or whatever, and I was like, oh, what do people have to say and stuff.
Right.
And when I saw the stuff people were sending me after our episode, I was like, I was kind of mad, but I also saw the momentum that the
It's
podcast
kind of
got.
intimidating at first.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and it really helped me kind of just be like, I don't care. Like we were just talking about right now. There's those guys that get on social media and they're like,
yeah.
yeah, I threw a jab at them. Hell yeah. And then they probably made their day. But it used to bother me. But I think now, I mean, don't get me wrong, there'll be some stuff it'll get on your skin.
But here's
But
the thing: it doesn't matter what side you take or what you talk about. You're always going to have those people.
correct.
You know what I mean? We could have been on the Israeli side of things, and maybe a whole bunch of Palestinians would have reached out to you, like, "Hey, man," you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you can't appease everybody at the end of the day. That's why it's so important to just speak your mind, learn how to articulate that. In my case, sometimes I don't have filters and I don't sugarcoat things.
Yeah.
I'm kind of direct with what I'm thinking and what I want to say. And, that comes off as abrasive on some people's pages, and on other people, they completely get it.
Yeah.
Because I think now is a time where the people that are gaining the most respect are the people that are being real and raw and unfiltered. I mean, look at Candace Owens, look at Tucker Carlson, look at the other people, look at Theo Vaughn now. He's slowly starting to speak his mind. I
Yeah.
mean, these people, and it's we're becoming emboldened by the amount of support that we see overall. Like when we see that more and more people are on board with this, we understand like, okay, this is like this something's happening, right? People are waking up, they're
Yeah.
noticing, so it just empowers you to continue to be real and raw and not completely to a place where you're coming off like derogatory or something or completely offensive,
Yeah.
but you have to take a stance,
Yeah.
right?
No,
There is no more sugarcoating stuff.
I think that's kind of how I currently am as well, where I feel like I was very hesitant on a lot of the stuff I would say, just because of that whole acceptance and all that crap. And then I realized, who gives a fuck? You know what I mean? And it's been better since. And obviously, since the last time I've had you, I took your advice. We finished up the podcast that night. We chatted out front from the studio we were at then.
Mhm.
And, I know you were like, why don't you do this all yourself and buy your own stuff and everything? And,
Yeah,
instead of renting a studio and everything. And those guys are cool guys and everything. And just,
yeah.
it made more sense to get everything. And,
Oh,
I'm now,
you definitely came up, bro. This is nice.
I appreciate it, man. That means a lot to me.
Yeah,
It's been huge for me for the last couple months. It's been a pain in the ass, but now I can finally start getting these episodes going like I wanted.
right.
I've got more sponsors now. Echelon's huge, Zemo pouches, Berserker built, and also Grind Ops coffee. Like it's it's cool to have those guys on my side. You know, we just added a new guy, Static Line. He's going to be jumping on as well. He's still actually active duty.
Right on.
Um, and it's really cool to be able to get these opportunities, especially here at this place, Copandero. I mean, we're looking at all the deer heads and stuff here right now. We're like,
Yeah.
damn, this is fancy, man.
Yeah, really fancy.
So big shout out to Copandero. I really appreciate these guys here.
Nice range.
Good guys, yeah, super nice range. But I'm excited, man. I'm super excited because again, to go back onto our last episode, I've had friends that were so like, you know, fuck Hamas and we're going to destroy Palestine. And, you know, I stand for Israel. And after that episode, I've got those people posting stuff on Facebook like, yeah, like, you know, Benjamin Netanyahu needs to go to freaking jail and stuff like that. Because, look, like, I get it. You know, Israel as a nation has the right to defend itself, whatever it needs to do, whatever. We get it. Like we spoke last time, it's not the Israeli people that we hate. It's the people that are at that echelon of, or that level where they're making these decisions not based off of like we said, right, terrorism and all that crap. Like these guys are just really causing, like, I mean, I was looking at pictures and video of Gaza recently, and you're just like, there's nothing left.
Mm-hmm.
And you expect, like, you know, me and you have a mutual guy that we both know. We were just talking about him earlier, and he's currently in Gaza, doing the humanitarian aid stuff, but like through UG Solutions, like their whole contracting. I mean, I'm sure you got more people that you know out there. I know a couple guys out there, and I almost went out there actually, because they're doing the whole aid stations and stuff like that.
Right.
And I got to see a cell phone video recently of when the Palestinians stormed the aid station the first day before they even opened. And of course, everybody pulled the like, hey, you know, they're in cages and stuff like that. And when I asked my friend, I said, hey man, like what really happened? And he's like, no, bro, what happened is they found out there was going to be aid. The numbers got overwhelming. They got lined up in front of the aid station. They didn't want to wait anymore, and they said, fuck it. Like, we're going through. But can you blame the people, right? Even the contractors on the ground. They said, can you blame them? They're hungry. They're, you know, but one of their concerns was some of the guys that were breaking through didn't seem like they were too, like, in the needy process of going and taking food. Like, they were taking it for a reason, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that was their concern is it getting in the wrong hands and not being distributed to the Palestinians like it should be, right? And because we know that happens too, you know, like I think they stormed Hamas's warehouse like 2 or 3 days later and took all the flour from them and stuff. And the people were tired of their shit. You know, you see videos and stuff. The people are like, dude, get these guys out of here. Like, we're done with this, you know? But that's where Americans do not understand just yet because of the way our media is so, like, it's just ramming it down their throats in the wrong perspectives, right? Like, it's not showing the full, you know, picture of it, right? Like, when these guys first showed up, they're like, oh, Trump sends government contractors to Gaza and stuff like that. They didn't say like what they were doing or anything. But when we hear that, we think like, oh, Blackwater, you know, 2.0 is about to go down over there. They're going to start, you know, assassinating Palestinians and stuff. So, you know, it's my mission now and my goal to, I'm not going to tell people like, and I'm going to say this to the camera right now because I really want to cut this up, but I'm not asking you to believe me. I'm asking you to just realize that there's more than one side of this and just go and use this fancy thing you have in your pocket and research. Look things up before you share a Facebook post that you think is true, you know?
Agreed.
There's so much data out there that can help you with these things.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many sources that can verify something quickly, or if it's unverifiable, then you probably shouldn't post it because, you know what I mean? And like Google has AI, ChatGPT. I mean, they can find it in seconds.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, I come across stories on my social media here and there that I'm just like, this is kind of fishy.
Yeah.
So I just go into my sources and I plug it in to see if I can find it. If I can, then I'll post it because I don't, you know, I don't want to be sharing like propaganda from one side or the other, really.
Yeah.
But people need to definitely take the time to research. That's the first step. And I feel like a lot of people don't take the time to research. They just kind of echo or parrot stuff that they see or hear. And because it aligns with what they believe, or
Correct.
at least their perception
What they're
of the
supposed to
truth.
believe.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that's a good point, man. And I remember I think I told you this when I first asked you, how do you take this stuff? I
Mm.
got called a terrorist right after
Uh,
that episode of ours, and what did I get? I got called like I got called a lot of stuff,
yeah.
but it was funny. Um,
It's because that beard, bro. They think you're a Muslim.
Dude,
Dirty
well, the
Muslims.
funny thing is one of the messages was, yeah, you're just some ex-military guy who finally just radicalized himself and everything. I was like, oh shit, like
Yeah.
damn, like that's rough, you know?
I got called. Someone accused me the other day of radicalized too.
Yeah. Oh well, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure it's common with you. I was telling you about the comment
Yeah.
that I
You're
saw
not
the
even
other day with
Muslim.
your
I
hat.
am.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
So
exactly.
they like,
So
yeah. I get
what
called everything.
it's funny because when I read the comments on your stuff, I'm like, damn, they just went in on this man because of his hat, because he's got an American flag. I'm like, the nice thing would be if,
This is why I wear it, just to trigger you guys.
yeah, well, and people who don't know you, right, and haven't taken the time to know who you are as a person, it's easy to see your comments about, for example, what's going on in Israel, right, and then be like, oh, he's this terrorist and radical or whatever, but for guys who don't know you, who are going to, before they even decide to go talk shit, and if they do listen to this, I would like for them to be encouraged to also look you up to see who you are as a person. I'm not going to say former, because you earned the title and you still are a Marine, right? And you have been a Green Beret for damn a long time now,
Yeah, a long time.
and you've served our nation, and people don't understand that you've lived both sides of the world. You know what I mean? I'm not saying you lived it in as in like you were up there in your Jesus kicks with an AK shooting back at us. No, you were legit in your own country, like where you were born, you know what I mean? You
Right.
were you were fighting a war on our side over in your own country.
Yeah.
And so when people that have never seen that or been around that or anything have their opinions, I'm like, well, you should at least figure out who this guy is first, or watch my full podcast to know who you are
But
growing up.
even then, it's like, even when they do see all that, they're like, oh, he was a Marine, he was a Green Beret, he has 23 years of service, numerous deployments. At the end, they just come back with, they wash all that away because they're like, oh, yeah, you're just radicalized now. You were like, you're a hypocrite because you went
Yeah,
over there and you shot those people, and now
yeah,
you're sitting here, you're like preaching and this and that. So they come at me with all these different angles. So none of that even matters these days. And it goes back to, people fall in love with their ideas and their perceptions so hard that they become so close minded to anything that would challenge that.
yeah,
When you fall in love with your own idea, that's usually the crutch within your own plan. You know what I
yeah,
mean? That's why, like, we have several of us looking over this idea and like you plan it
yeah,
out. But like when it's just you in your own mind, and you don't take the due diligence to go research and you know I don't know, try to find the authenticity within a story or a headline or something,
yeah,
then yeah, it's easier to believe. And then if you believe enough of that, you fall in love with that,
yeah.
and that's it. And then now you're closed minded, and nothing I can say will help you.
No,
And
yeah,
nothing I did in the past 23 years of service, anything, my patriotism to this country, none of that will matter in your
yeah,
brain because I mean, people don't just come at me blind. They do actually sometimes look into me and they're like, they come at me like, you went to this place and you went to Afghanistan. You must have went to all these places. You're a Green Beret. You must have saw combat. How can you now say this about these people? I'm like, maybe because of all my experience there,
yeah,
firsthand experience,
yeah,
not just fighting with these people, but then also living with these people, working with these people,
yeah,
because they're not all bad, and we're working with
yeah.
their militaries and their police, and
Well, I think that's a good point you bring that up, right? They're
and
not
like
all
it's
bad, right?
and I
So
got firsthand experiences into their culture, into
yeah,
their religion. It's like, I mean, does that not have any credit, dude?
yeah.
Because so
No, I bet for someone like you, that's even more frustrating, right? Because, like you said, you not only have you been there, but I mean that's a part of your life. That's a part of your history,
yeah,
right? That's you. I mean, it sounds like most of your family was all from Afghanistan, and then you
Yeah.
guys came here as a kiddo, whatever, and you lived your life here in America. But I think like the other day, I actually watched that new Netflix series that they put out on the Bin Laden hunt,
Mm.
like when they were going after him and stuff. And I think and this is what I want to get to, because we have like mixed people of how they see these things, right? Like you have the hardcore conspiracy theories like 9/11 was fake. Well, ultimately whatever happened, it still was real, and a shit ton of Americans got killed, right?
Yeah.
And there was a responsible party behind it, whether they were put there or not. That's separate, but we still had to go after the guy that at that time was the lead person for that situation, which was
Right.
Osama bin Laden. And he did. Well, I'm not gonna say has, he had an obsession with us. He wanted to make us pay, like he did. He was mad at us for his own reasons, whatever it is. And I have my, weird conspiracies about that as well. But
Mm.
when we first went into Afghanistan, and that I like that they pointed that out there. It wasn't boots on the ground right away. Everybody starts fighting and stuff. It was literally, it started off with the CIA, and then after that, it was Green Berets coming in there and force multiplying, and they got a lot of the locals to
Right.
help. And a lot of the locals, the resistance was going after the Taliban and stuff. And I think what people don't get is like they see Taliban, right? Or they even, for example, October 7th, right? In Israel, they think that these guys were like legit all a bunch of Palestinians from down the road in Gaza that decided to go attack. No, like even like the Houthis and stuff, right? These guys are like, they're not all from that region. Like, there's guys that are in Taliban that are from Syria, from, different parts of the world, and they see it as like, oh, Taliban, they're Afghan. Like, oh, you're
Yeah.
Afghanistan, or you're from Afghanistan, oh, you're Taliban. Like, no, 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 hold on. Like, understand that, like,
Yeah.
it's
They
you've
come from
seen
the
it.
surrounding areas.
Yeah.
They're not always all accepted, but
No.
they. That's why when Al Qaeda was in Afghanistan, that whole
Yeah.
thing,
Yeah.
and like Al Qaeda and Taliban clashed.
Yeah.
Our perception here is that, Al Qaeda and Taliban are working together. The truth over there was Taliban hated Al Qaeda,
Correct.
and they're actively trying to kick him out of
Yeah.
Afghanistan because they saw them this way they saw U.S. soldiers
So I
as
had a
occupiers.
Chris Cano on my podcast from Team Room Tactical. He was a seventh group guy. And he specifically talked about it in our podcast when he was in Afghanistan. I think it was in 2016 or 2017 timeframe. The Green Berets had 200 Taliban fighters on their side fighting against ISIS.
Yeah.
People are like, well, how is that a thing? I thought they're on the same side. I'm like, no, bro, those guys do not. Eventually, I always say, whoever's the highest bidder, right, is paying, who's contributing to their thing. Maybe they're going to be on that side. But
Yeah.
a lot of people don't realize that, man. And like, it's even like in Iraq, the way it was there. Like you
Yeah.
had the Kurds there fighting as well. Like it's a big mixture. And I think this is where, now that we're getting into this conversation, this is where I'm encouraging people is look everything up before you start, coming out and blabbering about things. Cause even I'm learning, like even just getting into the conversation with you last time, it made me realize a lot of stuff. And I started researching a lot of stuff. And then that's when I started having friends telling me, like I'll openly say it. I voted for Donald Trump. Um, I still would if it was both of them running for office, right?
Yeah.
I still would vote for him. Am I mad at him right now for a lot of the stuff he's doing? Hell yeah. I'm not happy with some of the things he's doing. There's things that he is doing that I'm okay with, but there's other things like the whole Israel thing.
Oh,
I'm
so
not,
you're not like a hardcore MAGA bandwagoner.
no. You know
No,
what I mean?
and that's what I tell people. It's like I get a lot of criticism for criticizing Trump. People are like, "I thought Trump was your boy. You said you voted for him. Why are you turning on him?" I was like, dude, I don't bandwagon for anybody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Uh, the thing is, I didn't vote for Biden. I didn't vote for Obama, and I voted for Trump. So, as somebody who voted for this man to put him in office and helped maybe to put him in office, I think I've earned the right to criticize him,
Exactly.
especially if he doesn't align or carry out or execute the promises during his campaign. During his campaign, he said America first. He said he's a president of peace, no more foreign wars. So then when he starts acting against that, I think it gives me the right to criticize this man
Yeah.
as one of his
Well,
constituents.
it goes into the situation too, Cal, where, you know, this happened with the left recently, right? Nobody criticized Biden. They were like, "Oh yeah, he's the right guy" and everything. And then after that one debate that they were like, "Oh no, he's not." They all of a sudden start making excuses and everything, and they still cannot criticize what he did. And I'm like, dude,
Yeah.
just because you voted for him does not mean. But I think that's the current culture we're in, right? Where everybody's like, "I have to be right, so I'm gonna make shit up just so I can feel right." And like me and you were talking about it. I literally have been like I got messages on social media. I thought that was your boy, and I'm like, yeah, he still is. Like currently
Yeah.
he still is, and he's still my president. And I'm gonna criticize him because of the way that it should be. Like,
Yeah. Name one person in your life that you just 100% agree with on everything they stand for
yeah,
and
no,
say, oh,
yeah,
no. So
no,
it's just not possible. Like we criticize Trump for the things that, I don't criticize him because of his decision making. I criticize him when he steps off his campaign
yeah,
message, you know?
yeah.
And so like there's a lot of things that he's doing. I mean, obviously you got this Iran news Israel thing that's been happening. And then you got the ongoing thing in Gaza with the Palestinians.
This episode of Calling Your Shot is fueled by Echelon Energy Drink, the mission-ready performance drink developed with input from over 2,000 U.S. military service members. Echelon isn't just your average energy drink. It's a pre-workout in a can, packed with 300 milligrams of caffeine, 200 milligrams of L-theanine, beta-alanine, and fiber, formulated for clean, focused energy without the crash. Flavors like Mango Reaper, Yuzu Cayenne, and Berry Habanero are anything but ordinary. Each can delivers bold taste and a long-lasting performance, designed for those who don't back down from a challenge and a little spice. But Echelon's impact goes beyond the can. Their unapologetically military forward branding and real-world product testing build morale and pride within the armed forces. It's not just fuel, it's a reminder of who you are and what you stand for. Check them out at drinkechelon.com. Again, drinkechelon.com, and see why Echelon is the official energy drink of the United States military and now this podcast. Echelon Energy, mission-ready fuel for those who dare.
And then there's this thing with, I mean, there's so many things happening, but the guy's not going to also bat 1,000 every
No,
day.
no.
He's
Yeah,
going to
you're
make
right.
mistakes, right? And if it's an honest mistake, like if it's an isolated mistake, then hey, I have a bad day too. I do that too. But
Yeah,
if
we
you're
all make
constantly
mistakes.
making bad mistakes and you're constantly pushing towards a different agenda, then yeah, I'm going to criticize you,
Yeah.
man. And the reason I didn't criticize Biden is because that would be like preaching to the choir. Hey, Biden sucks. You're
Yeah.
like, yeah, no shit,
Yeah,
dude.
no shit, dude. Yeah.
So why would I criticize somebody I didn't vote for?
Yeah.
We know he was not right in the first place.
Yeah, yeah. No, I agree, man. So, obviously, I think we're already lining ourselves up for the conversation we're going to have here, and some stuff I want to chat with you on, and I have a
Yeah.
really special question that I think is going to be a good one, and I really want to hear your opinion on it, and some of my followers do as well. But while we've been gone from the last episode, man, and you've been doing things, you've been busy, I know, but you got your hands in a lot of stuff. But how was that? You were working on another movie, right? So
Yeah, so I a couple months ago got back from Thailand. I was there for about 6, 7 weeks filming a movie. Well, I was consulting on
yeah,
a movie being filmed. I should clarify. I wasn't filming the movie.
yeah,
But military consultant. It was a Vietnam movie about Marines based on a true story, based off of a book,
yeah,
based off of a Marine, a black guy who went to Vietnam really young,
yeah,
and he got attached to a unit that did a lot of like pretty evil shit.
yeah,
Um, and so he got caught up in that, and he's dealing with this unit. He's dealing with the way the command works and what they're doing to the Vietnamese people, and he's living this. I mean, it's his Vietnam tour, but he's going through this, and he's like, I don't want to do some of these things, but if I don't, then they're gonna like, outcast me somehow,
yeah,
and back then in the Vietnam, like the cases of like blatant racism where, dudes would get other dudes shot or something like that,
yeah.
that was real.
It was real.
And I
Yeah,
didn't know much about that.
yeah,
But so then everything we filmed in Thailand was Vietnam. everything that we filmed was his flashbacks as he's sitting here talking to his therapist
Oh wow.
for his PTSD, because now he's back in the States trying to live his
Yeah.
life. He ends up becoming homeless and like going through it, and then he kind of picks himself up, and then he has like a really like cool story at the end of
Oh
all
wow.
that.
That sounds good, man.
Yeah, but it's based on a true story, man, and it's a Japanese production and a Thai production. The director was Japanese, very big director in Japan. And hopefully they get U.S. distribution and we see it like on Netflix or
Yeah,
Prime,
man. That'll be great, man.
maybe next March or April.
I think the funniest thing I heard, I got a lot of feedback off your episode, and one of them was a friend from work comes and tells me, after we watched your podcast, him and his wife, he goes, we decided to watch The Covenant. And he goes, and she goes, oh no, Kawa just got blown up on the hill.
Yeah.
And he's like, my wife was like, wow, like, that was cool. Like, the fact that, your friend had him on the podcast and now we're watching him on TV getting blown up on the hill.
Up. Yeah.
I'm all, what was it blowing up cool or what was, it's like, no, but it was neat, man. Yeah, and he liked the fact that you got to play yourself and everything on that movie and everything. So yeah, that was cool, man. It's neat that you're in that world and doing things. But I also see, and I wanted to ask you about this real quick, but I've seen like that Warrior Women's International deal or whatever. I've seen like a lot of those girls look up to you a lot, and you've gone out there and trained them and everything. And what are you doing with that?
I trained them in several different locations. Warrior Women is an organization. Warrior Women International is the name of the organization, started by a good friend of mine, Ricky Lynn. She's also here in Texas, but basically she basically put like an organization together where it empowers women to like get out and train, not just firearms training, but medical training, situational awareness, concealed carry stuff. But then they also have events where they kind of bring people in and do community events. And then they have their big regional events where like women are flying in from all over the States. And dude, she's built quite an empire of what they call themselves villages.
Yeah.
And there's one in Austin, Texas, Dallas, Fort Worth, Nashville, LA, Orange County. I mean, these are some of the places that I teach.
Well, we have a couple of them that are listeners of the podcast now and follow the page and stuff. And I talk religiously to two of them for sure. And it's cool to see that they're like always hitting me up. Like I saw like recently when I posted that you were coming back on, they were excited because, a lot of them look up to you, man. And it was cool because I've seen like what these girls are doing too is like some of them have faith groups going on the side. They got like, it's neat to see like them building a community.
It's a whole club, really.
Yeah, it's cool, man, because I feel like for the longest time, everybody had that perception of like, the girls don't really belong in that kind of arena. And it's not true. And it's neat to see that like, not only are they in there doing it, but they're not doing the whole gun bunny thing or anything. They're actually like training. That's really cool.
No, the women that show up to these classes take it serious. I mean, they take it serious. Their mindset is to take it serious, but some of their experience and level of experience varies.
Correct.
And their level of confidence varies. And so, as an instructor, I just have to come in, non-intimidating and approachable and, make them comfortable and stuff. So I don't know, man, it's been working. We've been doing pretty well. And it's growing. And I just help facilitate. I'm just one of the instructors. I'm not actually part of the organization.
Yeah. No, it's cool that you're doing stuff like that, man. I think again, that goes along with how people really need to learn who you are before they judge you, because when you see that you're doing all these things, you're doing it because you care. You're doing it because you want to see these people grow and get better. And
I want all Americans to be capable of defending themselves and innocent people around them.
So you just mentioned that defending ourselves, right? And I said, fuck it, let's just go into this. We currently are in a situation where it's sketchy right now. We don't I think there's so many umbrellas that are making it so complicated to see. And one of them is immigration, right? And everybody has this perception of like, ICE is here, they're taking everybody, they're only seeing as in the whole like Mexicans, but I'm like, that's not really who, like they're getting everyone, right? They just got those like 11 Iranians and stuff like that not too long ago. One of them actually was like legit had his Iranian military card on him, right? I don't know, It seems to be pretty valid, right? ICE
Not very
released it.
smart from
Not
an
not very smart, right? Yeah,
Iranian
like
terrorist sleeper cell, right?
yeah, exactly. Not that doesn't really make sense to me because if I was a sleeper cell, I definitely wouldn't have anything that associates me to who I'm
No, you'd be
fighting
sterile.
for. Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, cool, whatever. But when you look at stuff going on like that, there's a distraction because now you have American citizens who are fighting and we got to save all the immigrants and stuff like that. And we all know why initially there was a big push to get all these immigrants here in the United States into certain cities and certain states. The Democratic Party does not care about them.
No,
I'm gonna give you my honest opinion here. The Democratic Party does not care about them, and they wanted them here for a specific reason, and that's for votes, so that they could
I
win
agree.
these places and hold these places.
I agree. I think we should clarify that though. I feel like the DNC as a party, as a party,
Yeah.
they do not care about Americans. But I feel there are certain Democrat politicians that actually do care about America.
Oh yeah. I mean, you
So
you had like Tulsi Gabbard, who
yeah,
originally was, and
yeah.
then like
But I
she
agree
got
with you.
yeah.
They didn't care.
No, they don't care because and they're playing this front on social media and getting people to video them in with their super nice cameras and all of a sudden capture a moment of them trying to break through an ice building and stuff like that. I'm like, you're doing that for clout, man.
Right.
And because where was that when or here's my other thing, where's that gonna happen? Where's that energy when there's gonna be something bad happening to Americans? Because I feel like something can happen here very soon.
Of course.
I feel like we're at a level of a legit all-time level threat right now. Like, I know we can sit here and say maybe some of it's, staged or whatever, but no, I truly think there's a threat to the American people currently.
Of
How do you
course.
feel about that,
Yeah.
man?
No, I feel like, well, yeah, there's a threat to the American people because the the people who we have threatened, or the people who have the perception of us threatening them over the last few decades, are finding loopholes in our system to now find ways to get us back.
Yeah.
Everything we've done in different countries or in different continents over the last 70 years or so is now starting to catch up with us.
Yes.
And there are, there's our internal policies that kind of, loosen the ropes for those people to get in. And then we have people on the other side of things that want to, just close our borders, which I'm not necessarily against, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think right now is not a bad time to close the borders and maybe assess what's going on. But, that's probably not going to happen realistically. And I feel like, yeah, that's what's happening. This is the secondary and tertiary effects of decades long of meddling in other countries
Yeah.
for foreign interests that aren't necessarily the benefit of those people in those countries,
Correct.
but they are to the people who are making the executable items happen. Like when you have the power and influence to make certain things happen in a country, those are the people that benefit. And so on the ground level, they don't care how Americans' lives are affected. They don't care because they're achieving their results at the end. And by the time it trickles down to us, it's like, in a sense, the bottom of the barrel. So why would they care?
Yeah.
Who washes out their trash can every week?
Yeah.
You don't. You may wash out your trash can a couple of times a year
Yeah.
because the bottom gets super filthy.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things. And right now we're in a time where we're very vulnerable to external threats from outside the US, not just because of the countries that we've meddled in, especially the Middle East, but also because of the policies that have been in place by the Democratic Party and liberals and hardcore leftists
Yeah.
that have allowed for these loopholes to be created. And so, of course, while it's not just Hispanic people from Central South America that's going to take advantage of that, it's going to
Yeah.
be people from China, Iran, any other country
Yep.
that wants to get at us. And according to what I'm reading, there's already a bunch of sleeper cells in America already.
Yeah. They've been for years, man. It's
And that's
just a lot more right now because of the situation we had in the southern border.
yeah,
It's wide open.
and so it's very viable to say that any day now something very bad could happen in America. I personally think that the next time a 9/11 type of scenario happens in America, it's not going to be one event in one city. It's going to be multiple events at the same time in multiple cities.
Yeah.
That's my personal belief. And so that's why I highly encourage all Americans to stay vigilant, train, and have good essay, situational awareness
Well,
all the time.
October 7th in Israel is an example of how their new tactics of trying to hit people are. You have, for example, the way they hit them. It was smart. You start obliterating neighborhoods, right? And then after that, by the time, well, I don't know. I don't know the whole full extent of how that went down, but their military was caught sleeping. Whether it was for a reason or not.
The IDF was on an 8-hour stand down,
right?
Before that even kicked off.
Yeah. So when all that went down, you. And this is what I tell people here in America, right? When people get, oh, the Marines are going to Los Angeles and martial law, and we need to stop that and stuff like that. I go, this is a prime example. That's just rioters, how chaotic things can be, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you look at, for example, here, Houston, the med center, for example, largest med center in the world.
Right.
Where do we go when we're really sick? The med center, right?
Right.
You cause chaos and you bring, and Sarah Adams actually brought this up about the secondary and the tertiary type attacks where, some of these events might just lead you to that situation. And then the bigger attack is going to come later on.
Mm-hmm.
And, the Houston Medical Center has been placed on high alert for the last couple of weeks. I mean, I've seen, being there a lot. I've seen undercover cops now there. Like, they're really watching their ass because I mean, you cripple that, we're going to be in trouble, especially in this region, right? But people think that, I'm saying this right now for the reality of people to see what the military is like in America. There's not dudes at the barracks just waiting to put their uniform on and get out and go, protect America. Like, there's a process. And you saw it with the Marines in Los Angeles. They still had to bust them down from 29 Palms. They had to get them prepped. This is not like a, Battle Los Angeles where, the guys got out of their unit, they were training, they're ready to go fight in LA. No, it's not like that. And although we do have probably some units that can mobilize fairly fast, if we get attacked in multiple cities, that could be big trouble for us. And, what people don't understand is there will be a lot of loss of life.
Mm-hmm.
And when you talk about disarming Americans, defunding police and all that stuff, you are also basically jeopardizing yourself in that situation, because when that happens, who are you going to call? There was a Chinese general that said it one time that the reason why the homeland United States does not get attacked like by a foreign entity is because they're like, it's not even the military you have to worry about at that point. It's the fact that Americans are heavily armed. Like, they literally have their own second military internally within their country. Because, I mean, think about it here in Texas. I bet you every street here in Houston has somebody that owns a gun, whether it's legally or illegally, right? So, those are some of the things that I get worried about. But something I wanted to talk to you because, and I discussed this with him on the way over here, is you're very well spoken when it comes to these things, and you don't look at it as I'm getting attacked because of what they're asking me or whatever. And this is a question that some people have asked me to ask you as well, and I wanted to ask you is, you being a Muslim here in the United States, an American citizen, you serve our country still, how do you feel about situations like, for example, Dearborn, Michigan, or, where in New York, where people are saying like, oh, there's these three brothers that just came out in that podcast from Dallas that they're trying to get that city to pass. And, one thing that didn't sit well with me was the conversation that they had of basically saying, well, we have a loophole of how to like basically make it our own area and not have to worry about basically keeping American citizens that are westernized or whatever out of the whole mix. How do you feel about this whole conversation that Sharia law might be pushed on here in the United States? Like how do you feel about that? Like what?
Well, Sharia law is an umbrella term. It's not like a book,
Correct.
So what Sharia law means is, it basically is all of God's guidance through messengers, through books, through Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, like his sayings, through the sayings and the actions of other messengers and prophets before him. I mean, including Jesus, Moses, Abraham, Noah. And it's Sharia law is also guidance in every aspect of our life. Like, how do we handle ourselves during disputes? How do a husband and wife handle their, marriage? How do they handle their divorce? How things get distributed between the man and the woman? It talks about what we consume, not just what we eat and what we drink, but also the type of information that we consume, not to let yourself be like misled and really like guided off the righteous path, really, like get taken away from God, by certain things. Like here in America, gambling and alcohol, those are things that will definitely take you away from God.
This episode of Calling Your Shot is brought to you by Margarita, Texas, the creators of an award-winning margarita mix that brings the authentic taste of Texas to your glass. Crafted with real lime and lemon juice, pure cane sugar, and absolutely no high fructose corn syrup, Margarita, Texas mix delivers a clean, crisp flavor that's as refreshing as a Texas breeze. Whether you're blending it up or serving it on the rocks, this mix ensures a consistently delicious margarita every time. Recognized with a gold medal by the Beverage Tasting Institute and crowned Best Margarita at the Margarita and Salsa Festival in Waco, Texas, this mix has earned its place in the spotlight. Plus, with over 70 free recipes available, you can explore a variety of flavors to suit any occasion. Ready to elevate your margarita game? Visit margaritatexas.com. Again, margaritatexas.com to order your bottle today. Margarita, Texas. Taste the tradition.
Right. So, and then it also talks about like economic law, like how leaders should, treat their people with, the rights and the equality, and how food and power and every money should be distributed amongst the society. So there is a lot that goes into Sharia law. I would, instead of like, I can't think of everything, but I mean, the Quran is definitely like where it starts, because that is the source of God's revelations to Prophet Muhammad during that time. That's where it starts, and then the hadiths of Prophet Muhammad. But then you have to look at like the 5 pillars of Islam and what they represent, like faith, everything from like donation giving for people who are poor, like how to help them with money and food. And so there's a lot that goes into it. So I would recommend for you guys to just do some research, and or if you're like a ChatGPT type of person, just be like, hey, what does Sharia law all consist of? And then break it down for yourself, and then go through each one and look in there and see if there's things that you agree with or don't agree with. And then, because we have to get more specific, you just can't ask me about Sharia law. It's like me asking you, how do you feel about the Bible? Or how do you feel about just I don't know, Judeo-Christianity, because it's such an umbrella term. Yeah.
And I think where, for example, the way I would ask it, or the way and I guess I'll ask it because it's what I think, is you've had some of these guys come here to the United States, and they're here, and they've got these platforms and stuff, and they have actually openly said, of supporting death to America, right? The Western way, right? The way of America.
Right.
I'm not necessarily saying, maybe he doesn't mean death to the people, but he means death to our ways of being, right? Because I mean, we're not the greatest human beings around here either, but for an average American, I can see the concern when you hear stuff like that. And then you see, for example, the city of Dearborn, Michigan, who's pretty much now, it's like, I would say probably mostly Muslim population, right?
Okay.
And me having friends who are Muslim, including yourself, I've had coworkers that are Muslim. I've met a lot of these people, and they're not bad people. You know what I mean? They're like everything else. But what I want people to understand, because I do my own research, trust me, I watched probably 2 days ago, I spent like 3 hours going down, watching different, 2 gentlemen in particular discuss Sharia law and talk about it, and talk about where Sharia law has also been affected currently in our modern day, right? Because just like everything, including the Bible, it has been tampered with by man, right? It has been tampered with by mankind, and Sharia law has also been one of those things where certain individuals have tapered it to their own beliefs, right? And I think radicalism is a common thing, not just in Muslims, it's in Christians, in Jewish people, like it's everywhere, right?
Right.
And I think what I really would like for you to explain is, as a Muslim, that there are bad dudes that are Muslims that have said some radical things and everything, and probably do want to blow us the fuck up here in America.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not necessarily every Muslim. So what do you recommend, or what do you think is going to be that barrier where the American people can become more welcoming to Muslims who are migrating here, who are starting to come here for a better life? Because currently everyone's got that perception of, even with like the whole Mexicans and all that stuff, well, if you're so proud of that country and flying their flag here in America, then get the fuck out and go over there and do it. Which, to a certain extent, I can agree on, right? Especially when you're burning our shit down and everything, right? But I've met many Muslim people that here in Houston, there's a bunch of them here, that they're like super fucking American, man. They're all about the American way. And when you ask them about home, it's like they don't even want to talk about back home, you know?
Right. Well, it's a broad subject. Like, again, Sharia law, like, what about it? Which part of it?
Yeah.
Which aspect of Sharia law are we talking about?
I think people think Sharia law has these like stipulations of like beat the women and they got to cover up. And
but how hard is it to just get on one of your smart platforms and just research that?
Yeah.
You could even ask ChatGPT or Google, like, what part of Sharia law is threatening? You know, or you can even, and what gets perceived as threatening, and then at least start somewhere, because Sharia law is like,
it's really not threatening.
I don't know how to, it's like asking me what I think about the Encyclopedia Britannica. It's like, which part of the encyclopedia, bro? Like, give me something let's narrow it down. So Sharia law is just this term that gets thrown around to scare people, and it's fear mongering. But listen, if I actually lived by all the guidelines that Sharia law has given me, I would be like the perfect Muslim and the perfect human being. I struggle with Sharia law myself because I don't pray 5 times a day. I struggle with that. I'm lucky if I get to the mosque on Fridays just for the Jummah prayer, which is like the afternoon communal prayer. And so I struggle with that. And there's other things, and there's other aspects of Sharia law that I struggle with. There's no Muslim here that one probably knows every aspect of Sharia law because it's such a volume of things, but also then lives up to that. You know what I mean? Every Muslim struggles. So just like everybody else struggles, like every Christian struggles to be a better Christian, every Muslim and every Jew struggles to be a better Muslim and a better Jew. And so the Sharia law is, the people take Sharia law because they associate it with death to America, women being oppressed, they wanting to kill infidels like Christians and Jews. And like, find me that. Because like the women that are being oppressed is more of a regime thing within that country. Like the Taliban.
Yeah.
They make the women cover up because that's how they are an extreme they're an extreme regime in the religious sense.
Well, I think
look at Lebanon. Half of Lebanon are Muslims. They're dressing like the Kardashians.
Yeah.
Then you got in Jordan, you got half and half.
Playing the saxophone while there's bombs coming in background, drinking.
In Jordan, you got half and half. You got the religious sects that are covered up. You got the modern sects that will come out to the 5-star hotels in nice high heels and everything. So it's not necessarily the religion that's suppressing women. It's the guidance for hijabs and covering yourself up is ultimately to pay respect to that woman. Okay. And saying you should respect yourself, and you should not sit here and seek attention and like dress provocatively and you know what I mean? And then to the degree of what the woman covers up is really more of a cultural thing than a religious thing. Because then, like in Iran, for example, a lot of people are saying we should free the women of Iran. They're oppressed, under the Ayatollah. Bro, have you seen any of the YouTube videos that have come out of Iran in the last couple of years? They got pink hair. They got, you got dudes with their nails done, with cowboy hats, with weird glasses. I mean, they dress just like any other weirdo in LA, in West Hollywood. You're not weirdos. I love you guys. But still, the aesthetic is the same.
Yeah.
So, and then the women that choose to cover up, it's probably because they're of the sect that they belong to. It's more cultural.
Let me ask you this, and and I'm not going to go down the whole religion thing or the Bible, the Quran or anything, because I feel like every single one of those pieces.
Well, it's because we have to understand, like, when you say Sharia law, what is your biggest fear?
Correct.
Like, when you hear
And
Sharia law, what's the first thing that comes to your mind?
Of course, what comes to my mind is when you start to look at things like in the Middle East where women have been damn near killed for certain things. But I understand where a lot of that stuff has come from, because at one point in time, I was a young Marine who had no clue of what was going on.
Sure.
And I got to see the world a little bit and understand things. And then I realized, wait, hold on. That guy's treating his wife just fine. That guy's being nice to his wife. That guy doesn't treat her like she's trash. She's walking around. All these people start to get the fuck out of there and get scared and stuff when one thing comes around. Yeah. And it's the radicals, right? And whether that be the Taliban, ISIS, whatever. And I think what people in America don't understand, and I get their concern right now for some people, is we've had that southern borders wide open. Right. So now in Dearborn, Michigan, you might have, let's say, 200,000 Muslims there right now, right? They're all there right now. And let's face it, there might be a couple bad ones in between that, in that mix, because they've made their way and they found somewhere where they can take shelter and they can, hang out here in America till it's time to do what they got to do. And unfortunately, along the way, some of those people are going to get brought into that mess, because these people are going to do their best on trying to recruit. They're going to try to get under their skin but it's, again, also what's happening here in America, right? We have the left who has, forced people to basically accept homosexuality and all that stuff. Look, I'm not against it, because I have family members who are, who are gay, right? But I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, I fucking hate gay people and I hope they die and everything. No.
Right.
But at the same time, like,
you just don't agree with it.
Correct. But again, I disagree with the fact that, and it goes back to this not religion thing, I think a thing of faith, where we are now in universities and stuff in the United States where you're not allowed to speak of God or religion, but you're allowed to talk about transsexuals and abortion and stuff like that. And I'm like, and we're in it. To me, I do believe in a higher power, and I do pray, and I read the book, I don't like going to church though, because I think it's a bunch of hypocrites, because they go there on Sunday and they've sinned all week, and then they go there Sunday try to act like they're great human beings and judge people. I don't like that, right? And that's maybe one day that me and my God are gonna have a conversation, and he's gonna be like, dude, you were wrong for that, or whatever. I'll face those situations when I get there.
Be judged.
Exactly. But again, it goes back to what we're feeding each other, what we're seeing, right? Like, I remember growing up and researching papers and stuff like that, and you get taught in school to look at multiple sources, right? Not just typically unbiased sources, right? And make your paper based off that. And if you didn't do that, you'd lose credit and stuff. But now you got people that are all of a sudden war specialists on Facebook and Instagram. Last week they were riot control specialists. This week they're all bomb specialists too. Now, I've heard so many people talking about, well, there's no way the bomb could have done that to the. I'm like, okay, dude, I didn't know you worked for Lockheed Martin building bombs. Like, damn, that's crazy, man. Like, what are you doing on Instagram? So it's you're
missing out.
Yeah, but then they'll make this crazy little post, and then they like go ahead and like share it. And I did this the other day, for example, and the guy producing this was laughing because I made a video and I did the ceasefire has ended, and then I was doing an echelon flying in like this, and then I put two videos of actual rockets going off and everything. Someone legit shared it on Facebook and was like, oh my God, like, look at this. There's like an actual bomb coming in. And I'm like, bro, there was an echelon can while I was in the sauna at the gym. Like, and I made a post afterwards of like, don't fucking believe everything that's out there. You have to follow up with these things, and, getting back on track here, man.
I mean, well, let me say this. I mean, the term Sharia law has been thrown around since 9/11.
Yes.
9/11 was what, 23 years ago?
Yeah.
24 years ago. And
24, yeah.
I mean, what have we seen, like, as far as, because like we're talking about the fears of Sharia law. What is it? Like, infidels are going to die, like Christians and Muslims,
Correct.
Christians and Jews is what, apparently Muslims call infidels. There's going to be terrorist acts. Women are going to have to be forced to cover themselves up.
No
Sharia,
education for the children.
and so like in those 24 years, we haven't seen any Muslims do anything crazy. There hasn't been like high crime rates. Nothing's come out of Dearborn, Michigan. Maybe some arrests, maybe some illegal like I don't know, organized crime
Well,
type
because people are
stuff.
people. People are going to be shitheads no matter
Yeah.
what.
And so like the thing is like, and then the thing is like, if people are saying, well, these guys are just waiting to be activated, okay, like they're just waiting to be activated. When, and how long are you going to let this just keep going in your mind
Yeah.
that there are just Muslims here? There's 3.5 million Muslims in America. 3.5 million. I don't know how many there is in Texas. I know there's a lot in Houston, but across America, there's 3.5 million. And so, by your logic, we're all just waiting to be activated, right? 3.5 million
Yeah.
Muslims are just living normal lives until one day they get a text or something that activates all of us. That's so ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at crime rates just in general, Muslims have some of the lowest crime rates. If you're looking at religious categories, Muslims have the lowest crime rates in America. Middle Easterners have the lowest crime rates ethnicity wise. I mean, the thing about Islamophobia is that it's so easy to sit there and paint Muslims as the bad guy because we're the ones that started conflicts in the Middle East. And out of those conflicts, we created power vacuums where we had terrorist groups like ISIS and Al Qaeda that were born, and the Taliban and Al Shabaab and Boko Haram and all these ones.
Yeah.
And so when we created an arena where the entire world has eyes on it, and the bad guy is always painted as Muslims, then of course it's easy to bring that back home and say, well, Muslims are the bad guys here. But don't forget that it was the West who created conflict in the Middle East for the last 70 years. Look, the bottom line is if I come into your neighborhood, right,
Yeah.
somewhere around here, and I start harassing people left and right, and I just start poking at you, and then eventually you guys identify me and you like know where I'm coming from, and you know where I live, eventually some of you guys are going to rise up and come back, and you're going to start doing that to me or my people.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just the way it is. So when you constantly poke and poke and poke in a region, and you displace people and you kill people and you overthrow regimes that don't agree with you, and then you place puppet leaders that the people are supposed to like magically follow, all of that has repercussions, guys.
You just said something important, Kawa, that I think is currently going on. I'm not saying Iran is like, oh, we should leave them alone. They're great people and stuff like that. Like, we've known for the longest time their regime is a little bit, they're not on the right side of things,
Yeah.
And people talk, oh, go save the Iranians. No, forget it. Let's not talk about that now. What I'm talking about is for the people that don't understand that I've been seeing this in the last 2-3 weeks since this Iran-Israel thing started. The Israeli government, the military, they're not trying to stop nukes or anything. What they're trying to do is they're trying to switch out that regime currently that is in Iran, because they do not, under that current regime, Israel's not safe because that regime does not like Israel and they're tired of their crap.
That's the playbook.
And they're constantly, sending the Houthis after them. They're, the drones and stuff like that. They're proxies, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what I'm trying to explain to people too is that just because we're America, don't you see some of the stuff we're doing? For example, what did we do in Ukraine? We started that shit, man. Like we encouraged the Ukrainians to go to war, and then we set this fucking term of like, you can only buy American made, munitions and stuff. And the war machine keeps turning, man. It keeps turning. And how many Ukrainians and Russians have died for that shit? A lot, dude. It's awful to see those poor guys getting slaughtered out there. It's an ugly war, man. And the crazy thing is we're watching it on TikTok, and then you had the left who was encouraging it for so long. Like, we need to keep giving them missiles and shit. I'm like, no, we just need to stop that thing, right?
Yeah.
And when you look at, for me, was my eye opener was not just our podcast, but your podcast really helped me realize that. And I'm going to get shit for it again. And I don't care, because I'm going to get called like, I'm a Muslim sympathizer or whatever you want to call it. But what people don't understand is Muslims are not the problem. They might be Muslims in faith or whatever it is, some of these radical dudes that are a problem.
100%.
Yeah, but same
Yeah.
thing with Christians. We got crazy Christians. We got crazy Jewish people.
Yeah,
we got everything.
And
right?
when I say that, there's 3.5 million Muslims here, I'm not saying they're all like, they're all just good people, and they have their bad apples too. Everyone has their bad apples, and so it just so happens that the bad apples in the Muslim community probably feel some kind of radical way about America. And, whether they keep it to themselves or whether they action it with something, it still makes them a very minute percentage of that entire demographic.
Yeah.
So out of 3.5 million Muslims, probably 0.0001% of them could be bad guys potentially.
Yeah.
And that doesn't, so we don't have the right to stereotype or blanket label an entire people because of a couple of bad actors, because if that's the case, who here in this world has a clean history?
Yeah. This episode of Calling Your Shot is brought to you by Zemo Pouches, a bold, tobacco-free nicotine pouch that delivers flavor, comfort, and independence from big tobacco. Crafted with a unique water-free, semi-dry formula, Zemo pouches offer a steady release of nicotine and long-lasting taste. Made with soft, non-woven cotton imported from the UK, these slim pouches are gentle on the gums and built for all-day comfort. Zemo doesn't cut corners when it comes to flavor. Whether it's blueberry, grape, or wintergreen, every pouch packs a punch, thanks to high-quality ingredients sourced from their top-tier UK suppliers. Plus, each pouch uses pharmaceutical-grade nicotine, so you know you're getting premium quality with every pull. Zemo is proudly independent, no corporate giants, just a mission to give you a smarter, better option. Explore all of their flavors and strengths at ZemoPouches.com. Again, ZemoPouches.com. Zemo Pouches, flavorful, comfortable, and independent.
Yeah.
None of us do. But
it's true.
And at the same time, so yes, there are probably Muslim sleeper cells here in America. Let's just face it.
Yeah.
That's probably it.
It's true, yeah.
There is also
Russians.
There's also Israeli sleeper cells here in America. Okay. There's also Chinese sleeper cells here in America. There's also sleeper cells from the cartels that are here in America. In fact, every major city, I read in an article recently that every major city the cartel has infiltrated, they not only have sleeper cells, but they also have people in official positions now. They have infiltrated parts of the government, like
the DEA.
I mean,
was one of them.
So yes, how about we just say this? They are definitely bad guys here in America, regardless of race, religion, skin color, that want to cause harm to Americans. That is the bottom line. But it's not fair to say, well, it's just the Muslims, because there's a lot. But it's a part of the whole Islamophobia smear campaign of Islam and Muslims in the first place to, one, get Americans to sympathize with what we're doing in the Middle East. It's to get us to sympathize with Israel and their actions in Iran and Lebanon and Syria and Yemen and all the other places they bombed and attacked. And so that's what it is. We just have to understand the history of this context. And then if you look at the principles of it all, then we're all in this together.
So,
okay, as Americans, as a Muslim American to a Christian American to a Jewish American to whoever, we're all in this together, and that's really what matters. But it's so easy to cause divide, because it's going back to what I said. When you fall in love with your own perception of something, it's very hard to convince you otherwise.
Yeah.
But it's an ignorant perception.
So, and I think what I really wanted to point out here too is, just me and you right now, we've got a decent relationship going on. We talk every now and then.
Mm-hmm.
I'll comment on your stuff and everything. And although I'm not saying I don't believe in religion, I just don't agree with religion currently because I feel like it's been so messed up lately.
Mm-hmm.
But I would base myself Christian, right? And I'm a Christian, you're a Muslim, and we're not killing each other right now.
We're actually having a really good conversation.
Correct. Yeah. And I think that's what I want to normalize. And I want people to see that, yes, for example, Syria right now, going on in Syria. And this is why I wanted to point this out. Syria, you see a lot of Christians are getting slaughtered, right?
Right.
And they're like, it's the Muslims slaughtering them. No, it's not the Muslims. It's the dudes that we gave weapons to fight Assad and his regime.
Yeah, it's Jolani, who
Yeah.
one week was, last week he was an Al Qaeda terrorist with a $10 million bounty on his head. And this week he was shaking Trump's hand in Saudi Arabia. He's also the president of Syria. And this is what I say when it goes back to the playbook of regime change. We are very good at causing some kind of tension within a country to then instill some kind of coup that would then put a puppet leader in place that would work with us. Jolani, he is our puppet now.
Yeah.
Last week we wanted to kill him with a $10 million bounty. This week we're saying, oh, okay, look, since you have so much influence and power, here's some more money, here's some more equipment, but now you work for us. That's why ever since he became the president of Syria, he's aligned with Israel. He told the Houthis, don't fly your stuff over Syria. I mean, he's basically bending a knee to Israel.
Correct.
And that's what we want.
So
And we're trying to do the same thing with Iran with,
Yeah.
replacing the Ayatollah with the Reza Pahlavi, who is the old Shah's son,
who is also seen with
who's
Bibi
also a Zionist Israeli who is seen kissing the wall. So
Yes.
does Iran really want a Jewish Iranian who is loyal to Israel, or do they want a religious kind of extremist as the Ayatollah? The answer is neither.
Neither. Yeah. And
But
I think,
for us, it would be Reza Pahlavi, because then it's multifaceted. One, we gain influence and control over Iran, their nuclear program, but then also we can establish a central bank. And we're not going to go down that rabbit
and
hole.
not only that, they are also
They're
the
one
third
of three
largest
countries.
producer of oil. So,
Right. But they're also one of three countries that don't have a central bank.
Yeah. So it's nice that you say that, because now I'm hoping people that are watching this can start saying, oh shit, like, there's more of this stuff going on. And
There's way more going on than you guys.
when you look at, for example, we just talked about the Syrian government and stuff, but I was called a crazy tin hat guy because I had constantly posted about Sirahuddin Haqqani, right? And how he's on the FBI's most wanted list. And, I'm pretty sure somewhere along the lines when you were in the Middle East, that name came around of like, we see him, we're getting that fool, we're dropping him. Like, we all know Haqqani and the Haqqani network are high up on the list.
Yeah.
Under the Biden administration, we turned the Haqqani network into a organization within the Afghan government now that's handing out passports to dudes that are probably willing to come over here and do damage to us.
Exactly.
People who don't know the Haqqani network is infamous for their S-Vest creations and doing those kind of events. And now this guy's wanted, but the United States is giving him money. And, what brings me to the next thing that I'm mad about our current government as well is we were bitching and moaning and complaining about Biden giving Afghan money. Have we stopped giving him money?
No.
To the Taliban? We haven't stopped giving them money.
Not that I know.
They're still getting
I think
money.
it's still $40 million a week.
Yeah. So why is it a problem, but we're still not fixing it?
Dude, I have so many issues with that. One, just from a military service perspective, that is such a slap in every service member's face. When you sit there and you are now saying, hey, I know you killed a couple thousand of our men and women over the last 20 years, but now we're willing to work with you. That is such a slap in the face, man.
What we saw was the largest illegal arms deal done in Afghanistan in Kabul.
Yeah.
That's literally what happened.
And you got people like Jolani, who's an Al Qaeda terrorist, who grew up in Al Nusra Front, or grew up in Al Qaeda, and then he kind of started Al Nusra Front, and then from Al Nusra Front, he kind of migrated to this position. Like, that dude is also, he has American blood on his hands. But yeah, you're sitting there and you're shaking hands with this guy.
Well, it's crazy. So people don't pay attention with the Al Qaeda thing is Al Qaeda's okay with you focused on Taliban and ISIS and all that stuff. But the Al Qaeda network is legit. They hate America. They want us. They want to, like, Hamza bin Laden, who we claim was dead and is now confirmed alive. His plan is to jack us up in our
Al Qaeda. Let me just put it this way: Al Qaeda and ISIS are not a religious terrorist organization.
No.
They are a action arm for the highest pay, the highest bidder.
Correct.
That's what they are. Because Israel has been linked to ISIS. We have been linked to ISIS. I mean, for the most part, we created Al Qaeda and ISIS. I mean, you got Donald Rumsfeld, that was in a meeting with al-Baghdadi.
Al-Baghdadi.
I mean, that guy pretty much started ISIS, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we created these proxy groups who don't care what religion you are. That's why Jolani's supposed to be a Muslim, but he's over there slaughtering Muslims. Remember the men and women that he was making crawl like a dog?
Yeah.
Before he point blank shot them in the head. And the Christians that are dying, that he is right now saying, oh, these are not my guys, these are not my guys. They're very much your guys that are killing Christians, and are doing it for nothing more than just the optical illusion that Muslims are over there slaughtering Christians, and therefore we need more action in Syria. So these are paid dogs. They're not Muslims. Ask a Muslim if they think Jolani's a Muslim. Ask a Muslim if they think that al-Baghdadi was a Muslim or Haqqani was a Muslim. No, just because they say they're Muslim in name, that doesn't mean they're actually a Muslim. It's the same way you were born a Christian, or this guy was born a Christian, but all he does is drink, gamble, and smoke and this and that, and he still calls himself a Christian? No, I don't think so, bro.
Yep.
You know? So we have to separate this thing about, well, he's a Muslim. No, he doesn't conduct himself like a Muslim, so therefore he's not. And then apply that within your own religion.
And I wanted to bring something up based off of what I've read and understood of Sharia law. These guys are not following Sharia law.
No, not at all.
No.
No, the moment you kill
they're
innocent
the biggest
people,
violators of it.
in Islam, the moment you kill an innocent person, whether they're Muslim or not, you're no longer a Muslim.
Yeah. So
That's it. They say when you kill one person in Islam, when you kill one person, it's like you kill the entire human race. And when you save one person, it's like you save the entire human race. No good Muslim, no actual Muslim out there is going to kill innocent people.
So I got two questions I wanted to ask you, and I think you're the right person to answer these, because I feel like sometimes people will go find, some poor innocent Muslim girl who works in the med center or something that's, just trying to live life, and they'll ask her some crazy political question like this, and she's just like, whoa, like, and then they're like, see, she doesn't even she doesn't
even know.
Yeah, or she doesn't know, or, she's confused because that's their plan all along, whatever. But
that's the equivalent of me walking up to one of your teenage daughters at the mall and saying, tell me everything about Christianity. It's like it's still a teenage girl.
They don't know. So do you feel some of these crazy videos like the Dallas Epic City or whatever they're calling it, that they were trying to get past and stuff? Mm-hmm. Do you feel, as a Muslim American living here in America, having served in our country and stuff, how do you feel it should be for Muslims who are now coming to America, establishing life here? Do you think that us as Americans, we need to completely, especially if you come from we come from different religions, come from different cultures, different culture. Let's just get in culture alone. Mm-hmm. It's way different. Do you think that now we have to go ahead and start tapering to their culture? Or do you think that there should be that mutual agreement of like, hey, we are going to a foreign country that doesn't really do things the way we are used to doing them, and we kind of have to understand that as well, and not judge it.
We already do that, though, as a country. We already do that.
Yeah, no, we do. But currently in this mindset and this false aroma that is coming around the United States right now, it's like you're basically like, I'm Muslim, you got to do exactly what I fucking say. If not,
Well, no, I don't think any Muslim's going to say that to you. No Muslim's going to say, hey, you're in a Muslim whatever, now you got to do everything by Muslim standards. Yeah. No one's going to say that to you. But I think what you were asking me is like, by abiding or maybe facilitating their culture, is like, in this case, in that city, Epic or whatever it was called.
The Epic City.
I think it's near Frisco, right?
Frisco, yeah.
It's near there. And so you're saying, the question is, do we allow these Muslims to have their own community, their own parish? That is, I don't know the rules. Is it only Muslims, or are they allowing others to come in?
According to one of the developers, they're worded it to where everybody's allowed in, but then there's all these crazy bylaws that basically is like, no, it's only Muslim based. Like, if you want to have a business there, you have to be Muslim. If you want to so there was some developers on that project that were talking about it, and it made sense. It's like, cool, it's a community for Muslim people to feel comfortable, to feel themselves, to kind of practice the way they normally are used to back home. But then you had this idiot that came across, and I'll point him out to you. He's a younger guy, and he came on, and he's got a lot to do with that, and I think he's got money involved in it, where he was like, and he's like, oh, and the best part is there's these bylaws that basically, we don't want their ways here in our, and then that's where the confusion comes in, right? That's where it's like,
They want to make it exclusive.
yeah,
Yeah, see, exclusivity is not a good way to get along with your neighbors.
no,
I mean, look at Israel. They built a wall around Gaza. How are they supposed to get along with these people? How are they supposed to have conversations like you and I when
Yeah.
they have 10 feet of wall up 50 feet?
yeah,
And so in this case, I would say that if these Muslims for that city, if they want exclusivity, that's the wrong answer, if you're listening. If you want for the rest of Americans to understand you and support this community based idea, then you need to allow everybody to come in. Having some bylaws within the city makes sense. Every city has their own laws.
Correct.
Like if I go inside of Katy, there's certain things I can't do versus Houston proper, versus here in Conroe. So, but I don't know what kind of laws they would imply, but I think for the broader question is, the broader answer is, I think Muslims have every right to have their own communities. We've already been doing that for other religions. Do the Mormons not have most of Utah? How about the Amish in Pennsylvania, right? How about Jews in New Jersey or in the Bronx or in LA? I mean, how about evangelical Christians down in the South Bible Beltway? I mean, every religion wants their own little communities. Why? Because they want to keep the religion tight. They want to keep members of that religion close.
yeah,
And so, I get it why they want that. And I think it'd be kind of cool to have like this little area where you can just go, maybe have some dope falafels or actual hummus or whatever,
Yeah.
whatever. Maybe listen to Middle Eastern music or whatever,
Yeah.
I think that'd be kind of cool. But if they're going to try to put all kinds of restrictions where now they're saying, oh, if you're this, you can't come in or that, I think that's wrong.
yeah,
As a Muslim, to these Muslims who are in charge of this project, I think that's wrong. But it's also wrong for Governor Abbott to now try to halt what's happening with this project, because he's like, well, we shouldn't have, he's jumping on the Sharia law thing. Like, if we allow this to happen, this is going to be Sharia law. And this is how, it spreads or whatever. Again, it's Sharia law. Like, I can't even, like, you got to give me I don't even know where to start on that.
And I think that's why I asked you, because
Yeah.
everybody's perception of like Sharia law happens where like we're fucked,
Well, okay, so what about, again, I have to ask, like, what about Sharia law scares you? Give me something to work with so we can start a conversation. And that's the thing, like, I think more people who don't understand Islam or Muslims just need to talk to more Muslims, like try to interact with them, man, and ask them these questions. You don't have to go hard on them, but establish some rapport first and then ask them questions.
Yeah.
How do you feel about Sharia law? But then actually tell them, like, well, how do you feel about Sharia law when it comes to women having to cover up? Like, is that something that you want all women to do? Because most Muslims just want to live their lives.
Yeah.
Most Muslims just want to stay close to their community, or, like, maybe in some parts it's like just Pakistanis or just Indian people or just Afghans. But I don't know. So I need to know more about the city in order to maybe have more of a on that.
It's just very controversial, and then
But I also feel it's very contradictory, because you have the same people who are against it, who are saying, oh, Sharia law, Sharia law. Also, did you know Texas gives about $100 million of U.S. Texas taxpayers' money to Israel? So the same governor who's against Muslims having their own kind of parish is the same governor who gives $100 million of taxpayers from Texas, your money, to Israel. So we're okay with giving money to Israel, who actively is killing people over there, but we're trying to squash something that is what? Probably never going to happen.
My next question to you: what do you think it is that Israel has that is just making everybody bend over for them? Like,
Well,
why are we so like, because you can tell Trump is like on the fence, but he's also given in to them. Because he's been one of the few that has actually been vocal of like how they piss him off. And, at one point he was like, Netanyahu, because I don't know if you remember this, but in the beginning of the administration, Tulsi, Hegseth, Cash, and Trump were all against Israel, like supporting Israel in certain things.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden it just went from like that to like, Mike, is there some kind of intelligence that they have on us? Like what is it that people are literally so invested in them? I know the APAC is a problem, but what is it?
It's mainly the influence that the Israeli lobbies have in our government. It's the type of establishment that they've created, where now as young politicians who want to climb, the politics ladder and maybe get to like Congress one day or get to a presidency one day, they have a way of identifying the ones that will support Israel and the ones that won't. And so if from a very kind of young career point in a politician's career, they will interact with you and say, hey, we'll donate to your campaign fund, as long as you support Israel and you say you stand with Israel. And that's what they want. They want, regardless, unconditional, undying loyalty to Israel is what they want. And they will continuously prop you up through their funds so that you can now win races and stuff like that. So one is that. One's a farm system. You have to think about like these Israeli lobbies. This APAC is just one. There's several others. So, and they're giving hundreds of millions of dollars every year to politicians. I mean, Trump himself got $100 million from Miriam Adelson, but Adelson is pretty much APAC in general anyway.
This episode of Calling Your Shot is brought to you by Team Room Tactical. Proudly based in Scottsdale, Arizona, founded by a U.S. Army Green Beret, Team Room Tactical brings the grit and precision of real-world experience to the firearm community. Whether you're shopping for high-end rifles, custom Glocks, or one-of-a-kind Cerakote or laser engraving work, Team Room Tactical is where craftsmanship meets combat readiness. They're not just another gun shop. They're a tribute to the brotherhood built by those who walk the walk. Their mission is simple: deliver top-tier gear and custom builds to those who demand excellence. Check them out in person at 2334 North Scottsdale Road or online at teamroomtactical.com. Support veteran-owned, support the community, and most of all, support the mission. Team Room Tactical.
Because APAC is, they're not like, they say they get their money from private donors.
Well, it's kind of like when you look at the U.S. aid thing that we had in place when it got shut down. Did you see what happened to the DNC's money?
Yeah.
It skyrocketed the opposite way.
Yeah.
Like they're going broke.
Yeah. I mean, Kamala Harris is in debt, like $20 million.
Yeah. And like when you looked at what the U.S. aid was funding, like, was it Sesame Street in some country and
all kinds of
stupidity,
dumb stuff,
but it was going into the pockets of these politicians.
Yeah.
And I think,
so that's one though, but that's one.
Yeah.
Right.
There's many.
So like the farm raised system of finding politicians who will stand with Israel is one way. The other one is if they're politicians who already have like established a career for themselves, like senators and congressmen, most of them have APAC handlers. And if you don't believe me, listen to the interview of Thomas Massey, the representative from Kentucky, who is very much, will talk about APAC, very unfiltered. And he himself said that most of Congress members and senators have APAC handlers. He said there's a handful of Congress members that do not have handlers, meaning that they are not taking money from APAC. And most of those, if you look them up, are the ones that we vilify today. So,
yeah.
Okay.
It's obvious. That's right there.
And it also makes sense why Trump goes so hard after Massey. He wants to primary him. He wants to this. He wants to that, because Massey hasn't bent a knee to APAC yet. Yeah. And so that's another way is bribery. But then the other way is blackmail. I mean, the whole Epstein thing was a Mossad psyop and a way to catch not just politicians, but other key figures and celebrities and whoever else that could, maybe CEOs of big companies, catch them in that act and say, hey, we got you with this now. So you pretty much have to do it, or we're going to let this out. So there's a reason why we haven't seen the Epstein files yet.
I think
there's a reason why we haven't seen the JFK files yet.
I think that's why everybody's also bending over to Israel, because the Mossad is like,
yeah,
do it, bitch, and see what happens.
That's it, dude. I mean, look, I just saw an audio recording of an Iranian general who was called by the Mossad, and they didn't hide it. They said, hey, this is who we are.
Yeah, I saw that.
If you don't leave the regime, you got 12 hours to escape.
We're going to kill you or your family.
Now, how many Congress members and how many CEOs of companies probably get that phone call, hey, your daughter goes to this school. If you don't help pass this legislation, or if you don't do this,
you're fucked.
we're gonna kill her.
You know what's crazy is when you say that, there's like, I saw that as well, and then I was I was tripping out on how a lot of people will sit here and, like, for example, Cash Patel, man, he came in swinging the
Sell
bat
out.
hard, ready to go. Like, I'm dropping the Epstein files, I'm dropping everything. And when I heard him the other day on Joe Rogan, he's just like, no, there's nothing there. Joe
was a
Rogan's like, there's
suicide.
something there. He's like,
No,
no,
it was a
dude.
suicide.
He's like, I mean, it's pretty obvious. And then he kind of like justifies it a little bit, but then you're sitting there thinking, you're like, no, man, like, how could there be this much information? And then all of a sudden, boom,
Flatline.
gone.
Dan
And
Bongino.
yeah, and it's so crazy, man. And it's like, you know,
Pam Bondi.
yeah,
How does Pam Bondi come on camera and say, yeah, there's gigs and gigs and gigs of videos of little kids.
yeah,
And then now you got Cash Patel that's like, no, there's nothing there.
yeah.
You know,
And you know when
you're not gonna find what you're looking for, is what he said.
it's crazy, man. And it's that guy. I think he was a general. I don't remember exactly what he was in the Pentagon recently. And he said what doesn't sit well with me, and I want to bring this up now, is, you know, we talked about back in, you know, history, when you look at World War II and the Nazis just stripping Jews from their house and killing them and all this stuff, you know, what the history books say, and not allowing them to say things. And, you know, we talk about that. But when you look at what's going on currently with the Jews or with the Israeli government, right? You have this guy in the Pentagon who speaks his mind and says, you know, these guys are bad or whatever. And he got stripped of his
Colonel
position.
McCormick.
Yeah, he got stripped of his position.
Yeah.
Like I'm pretty sure he just probably lost his security clearance too. Like, I don't know exactly the extent of what his punishment was.
Right.
But what the hell happened to us being a free country and we can speak freely? Because what I'm looking at is like, look, and I get it. There's been some students that have said some dumb stuff, and what they didn't realize is they got themselves in trouble because they were seen supporting a certain organization like Hamas or whatever. And what I want people to see too is, if you support Palestine, don't say that you support Hamas shit or Hezbollah or any of that stuff. Support Palestinians. Support Palestine as its entity. Don't say the Hamas thing, because that's going to get you popped up. You know, that's a perfect reason for HSI and Homeland Security to be like, you're up to some shit. You're supporting a group of people who are known suspected terrorists, right?
Right.
So be smart about it, right? And that's what I want people to say, is like, be smart, you know, because I'm going to be honest. I support Palestinian people. I hate to see what's going on with them. When it comes to the whole Hamas thing, fuck those guys. They're also contributing to what's happening there, because they're looking at it like we've talked about earlier. They're not looking at it as in, there might be some of them who truly want the best for that region and want the best for their people, but there's some of those guys where they're making enough money up there at the top, especially when you look at Hamas leadership.
Well, we have to remember that Hamas is it's a political party.
Correct.
Hamas is not like a bunch of dudes with AKs.
No, I know.
You know, so Hamas is an organization, and it's a political party. And yes, there's people at the top. And I personally don't support Hamas, only because I know there's Israeli influence within Hamas.
Correct.
Bibi himself, Netanyahu, admitted to giving $100 million to Hamas through Qatar. So he's been aiding and abetting Hamas as an organization,
because it keeps the war
for
going.
decades, because that's his justification for doing what he's doing. So you got to keep your reason alive. If your reason dies, then it doesn't work. Now you're just slaughtering people, right? So we know that. But however, there's now the military subcomponents of Hamas that are on the ground doing the fighting. And if you actually look at some of these, like Al-Qassam Brigade, I just posted their ambush video on my story earlier this morning. Those guys are actively fighting IDF, fighting for their people. And if you ask them how they feel about Hamas as an organization, they disassociate from them. They say, we're not part of the organization. We are Al-Qassam Brigade. We don't consider ourselves Hamas. We are fighting for our people. So that is why I say Hamas, they very much could be a terrorist organization because of the Israeli influence, and who knows who else is kind of supporting them. But the guys that are fighting the IDF on the ground, I call them a resistance. And I'll back that up all day with principle.
Yeah.
Because when you have a bigger oppressing force, naturally at some point a resistance will build against that. It's action and reaction. That's
Well,
all.
so with you saying that, how many people were in Afghanistan also fighting against the Taliban at the time and Al Qaeda that looked just like them, but
Just
they were
like them.
fighting against them?
Yeah. Yeah.
But we now have classified some of them as terrorists, the resistance.
But see,
right?
this is it goes back to throwing terms, these blanket labels, right?
Because everyone's a terrorist, and if you
Yeah.
think about what, for example, and this is what I explained during the LA riots.
Mhm.
People are like, well, people need to remember the military's oath. They need to remember their oath, and I'm like, their oath says they're to protect this country, both foreign and domestically.
Right.
And in this case, they're like, well, what is a domestic enemy? What is the true definition of it? Well, there's many versions of that definition, but when you're completely going against the state and you're burning down buildings and throwing things at people and harming, you're an enemy of regardless. You're an enemy of the city of Los Angeles. You're an enemy of the people there because
Right.
you're causing havoc. You can't commit a crime and say you're protesting. Like, and it takes away from kind of like the Black Lives Matter movement, right? Maybe there was true protesters out there that wanted to get their word out.
Of course there were.
But then you get all these idiots that come
Right.
across with, Antifa guys or white
Agitators.
kids. Yeah, agitators. And then now me and you can be sitting here and be like, those Black Lives Matter idiots. It wasn't even them.
It's burn, loot, murder, right?
Yeah.
It's all burn, loot, murder. And that honestly wasn't the case. There is black people out there actively advocating for black lives, but it was the paid agitators from whoever, some shadowy person that paid these people to come in and stir trouble to give BLM a bad name.
Yeah.
And who knows, they could have been bad from the get-go, but as an organization, that is. But their supporters, that doesn't mean their supporters were bad. Just like the pro-Palestinian.
Do you remember
college campus.
the one in DC where they came with Hamas flags and they were like, burning an American flag and stuff like that, and they were pro-Palestinian and
Mm-hmm.
I remember
the statues.
The article said like, one of the articles I read, I forgot what newspaper it was, but it said like, Muslim Americans come out to protest in support of Palestine and Hamas. And when you look at the pictures of those people that were doing that, they were white kids, dude. It was 2 white dudes and a white girl.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you just, again, made Muslims look like bad people.
Mm-hmm.
And those 3 idiots are not even Muslim.
Right.
The people that were back behind the scenes, probably with their Free Palestine flags and everything,
were genuine.
And these idiots just went and did that, and then now you're gonna have that. But it's the same thing with like Trump supporters, right?
I mean, it's so easy to do. Like if I have the money, I can make it happen too. I mean, these marches get
they're funded.
They get promoted.
Yeah.
No, they get promoted for max activity, right?
Yeah.
Max participation. And so naturally the word gets around. And if I wanted to go sabotage and I had the money and influence to do so, I'd pay like 10 kids to go in there and just start smashing glass and cars and stuff, with the Palestinian flags in their hands. And next thing you know, we got another J6, right? And so now it's like, oh, all these people are extremists.
Yeah.
Every one of these pro-Palestinian marchers are pro-Hamas, or Hamas sympathizers. Every one of these J6 people are extremists. Remember?
Yeah.
How we named our own people, our own citizens, extremists.
It literally is both the left and the right fighting each
terrorists,
saying that to each other,
right?
And we fall for it, man.
And we fall for it. You're saying that this 60-year-old lady who happened to go into this building 5 minutes after everybody else went in, she's also an extremist, dude? Really? It makes no sense, but we're so gullible and we drink this Kool-Aid so easily where if I put a label on it, everybody believes it.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, they're all pro-Hamas. Oh, all Muslims are terrorists. All liberals are Marxists, whatever, right?
You bring up a good point, Kawa, because like when we talk about this stuff, like currently me and you right now just talking about this, we have both agreed with probably some stuff that the left has done, some stuff that the right has done, some stuff what the people have done, right?
Right.
And in today's society, you got kids that are like, it's either left or right. And if it's not left, fuck you. If it's the right, if it's not right, fuck you.
Yeah.
And what they don't understand is that I knew something was going to happen when LA broke out. I knew something big was going to happen. And sure enough, days later, Israel's dropping bombs on Iran. That's not all that happened. There's a lot of other stuff that went down, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, they're so focused on the, look, I'll be honest, my stance on immigration, I got bantered the other day, man, on my Facebook from my old high school friends, right? And it kind of hurt me, man, because some of them I thought were good friends and stuff. And then I realized, fuck you guys. They're like, remember where you come from. Because I grew up in El Paso, Texas, border town. My father was an immigrant. My father came here to the United States legally, didn't come illegally. My grandmother brought him over to the U.S. They did his paperwork, everything. I grew up in a small border town. It's a larger town now because of Fort Bliss. But I got to see people come across illegally and just sit here for years and not worry about trying to fix things or anything, and then are now worried about why they're getting kicked out, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm going to sit there and I'm going to be open right now on camera. I don't feel pity for you on that because you've had the time and you had the administration that was going to back you back in the days to help you legalize yourself, but you were too fucking lazy to walk over to the immigration building or your consulate here in the United States and get it fixed. Yeah. So I don't feel for you on that aspect. But my concern currently with immigration is not, the uncles and the aunts that have been working their asses off here in the United. No. Like, we should figure out a way to help those people, especially because they've been here for so long. They've made it.
Well, because some of them, they're like, well, these people have been here. They're just, their visas expired or their green cards. And it's like,
but there's rules, dude.
Yeah, like 14 years ago, bro, you could have done something about it.
Correct.
But you just chose to live under the radar.
Correct. Now. And that's what I see. I don't feel pity. My biggest concern right now is we need to get people out that are in this country that don't want to be here because they think that this is the right way. I truly think that there's people that are in this country that want to hurt us. And whether that be Chinese, Russians,
African,
anything, they're there. I mean, we've seen it here in Houston where they've arrested some dudes that were bad. Yeah. I mean, not too long ago, they arrested some dude who was like Russian or something like that, who like legit had like manifestos and stuff to hurt us. And again, there's also Americans that are that way, right? Like, it is what it is.
They don't appreciate our way of life is what it is.
No.
These people come here from foreign lands and they think because America's a free country, they can just do whatever they want.
Yeah.
They don't understand the history of this country and what everyone's been through and how now we are one people. Yeah. And we have a way of life. A lot of people say that America has a culture, and I tend to disagree with that. I think America is a melting pot of many different cultures. But one thing we all have in common here in America is that we all appreciate this way of life.
Correct.
And all we wanted to do at the end of the day is just live our life, be happy, and then be left alone. Right. And these people that come here, they don't understand that. They don't understand the daily grind that the average American has to go through to put food on the table and pay their bills.
When they talk about stolen land, right?
Yeah.
And when we get into stolen land, that's a slippery slope. Because when you talk about, like, for example, the Latin Americans that are coming here and they're talking about, oh, well, America's a stolen land, so why can't we be here anyways? Like, this is our land to begin with.
It's like 300 years ago, bro.
Yeah, and not to mention the dudes who stole it. Like, somebody told me the other day, Native Americans should own it all because it was their land to start with. I'm like, they used to steal it from each other too.
They used to steal it from each other, and a lot of their chiefs sold their lands as well and betrayed their own people.
And when people sit here with the Latin background that argue about this is Latin land first, it wasn't. It was the Native Americans, and then the Spanish came and stole the land,
Inquisition,
and recreated their own thing here and everything. Mm-hmm. And Texas nor California were stolen; they were sold.
They were sold.
It was like 20 million or something like that back in the days.
Not a lot.
Yeah, and they sold the land. So it's like, hold on, before you go out there and post your posters and stuff like that, just research a little bit, Yeah. And that's really what I want out of this, man. It's crazy.
People won't do it, man.
It's crazy.
It's easier to be ignorant and parrot things than it is to go do your own research and come to your own conclusions based off your research and your cognitive thought process of seeing what's bullshit and seeing what's authentic. Like, people don't want to spend the time. So it's easier for them to, and also people don't want to go against the grain. Like, if they find out, oh, hold on a second, this goes against everything I was ever told. You know, like most people with Israel today, a lot of the older boomers are like, They're like, wait a minute, this is, either they can blindly support Israel continuously because they're older and that's just it, they've
Yeah.
been too indoctrinated, or now they're like, holy shit, I've been lied to my entire life,
This episode of Calling Your Shot is brought to you by Berserker Built, a veteran-owned brand where artistry meets purpose. Founded by U.S. Navy veteran Timothy DeMeo, Berserker Built crafts custom skateboards and apparel inspired by Viking and Norse designs. But they're more than just a brand. They're on a mission to support mental health initiatives for veterans and first responders battling with PTSD, TBI, and much more. Each purchase contributes to this cause, turning functional art into a beacon of hope. Whether you're looking for a unique board or gear that stands for something greater, Berserker Built delivers quality with a conscience. Explore the collection and support the mission at berserkerbuilt.com. Again, berserkerbuilt.com. Berserker Built, crafted with purpose and driven by honor.
and people are waking up. But it's the youth of America that never had to go through that indoctrination. They are seeing Israel for what they are based on their actions, and therefore they're coming to their own conclusions because of all the TikTok videos and all the videos that are coming out of Gaza.
Well, you know what I want you to talk about right now is we have a culture and a generation of guys. I call this the G Waters, right?
Mm-hmm.
The guys who have been around for the last 20 plus years. They got to see the war in the Middle East, but also got to go see culture around the world of what it's like and everything. Based off of my social media and following some of these bigger guys that, have big names behind their back and, served their country in high capacities or whatever it is, right? There's one thing in common with a lot of them, and they all feel the same way like me and you right now. But my problem is not a lot of them speak up.
Yeah.
What came into you, Kawa, that you finally said, you know what, fuck it? Like, I mean, you already sound like a stand-up dude to begin with. Like, I'm sure you've always been like pretty straightforward, This is what we're talking about.
I've always had like a lack of filters. I've always been more of a direct communicator.
Yeah.
I don't like to beat around the bush or sugarcoat things.
Yeah.
And to some people that's appreciated, and to some other people it comes off a little abrasive, intimidating. But I feel like the reason most people don't speak up is because they're like, for me to speak up on this topic doesn't benefit me. It's only going to hurt me. So why would I hurt my business? Why would I hurt my brand? And it's easier for people to stick their head in the sand on this topic than to acknowledge it, because when you acknowledge it, then you are now starting to show that you're starting to have to lean towards one side or the other.
Yeah.
You can't stay neutral on this because somebody's going to call you out. So if you don't ever talk about it, it's, hey, out of sight, out of mind, and that's why a lot of people don't get questioned like, hey, how come you don't talk more about this? Because they never brought it up. But the minute you bring it up, then you've kind of opened that can of worms.
Well, I think that's a good point you bring up, because I'm one of those guys who in the beginning I was just very like, and then now I'm like right here in the middle. Because don't get me wrong, I still have my personal beliefs of like what I think's going on in the Muslim culture and stuff. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, because I'm still learning, right?
Yeah.
And but I'm also looking at this side like, oh, what the fuck's wrong with you? Like, I'm in the middle, like, yo, man, what's wrong with all you fuckers? But I've noticed one thing in common and one group in common, right? And that's obviously the current situation we're in with like Israel and stuff. And I've done my best to try to tell people about looking up who the Mossad is, how they do things, right? And I got asked a question by a follower who wanted me to ask you, and he asked to remain like, don't tell him my name. I was like, that's fine. He said, can you please ask Kawa, is his views on all this stuff that's going on with Israel and the world and everything, do you have any bias on those views based off of the fact that you're Muslim? Like, do you, and he explained to me why he was asking and stuff, because he was saying that most people are ignorant to see what you're saying as we've already seen it, people calling you a radical and stuff. But he's like, I think it would be good for him to explain this on camera. where those views and where that background is coming from of you calling out Israel and the government and Bibi and all those guys. Like, he wants to know, is it coming from the fact that initially you're a Muslim and you thought that way, or you thought that that's just your common enemy or whatever, or is it something that just genuinely is coming out of you?
Well, when it comes to Palestine and Israel, of course there's some bias because I'm Muslim.
Yeah.
I mean, as a Muslim, why wouldn't I advocate for other members of my religion, especially the innocent ones? Am I wrong?
No.
Am I wrong to do that? So yes, there's bias. I'm a human being. I'm not a robot. When it comes to Israel and how Israel affects America, it has nothing to do with religion. It has everything to do with our way of life and our society, and how much this whole Zionist movement is such a cancer to the American way of life and everything that we consume, from our foods to our media to the information to the divide between different aspects of our society. It all stems from Zionism. It's because the ultimate objective for Zionism is to have control of everything. It's to have control. That's why, you have Zionist, the whole little Zionist circle is involved in every industry and every domestic and international organization in the world. From it could be down to your HOA all the way up to the WEF and the UN. So it's a big movement. And at the end of the day, they want is to control people. And so when it comes to America, why would I support anything Zionist? Why would I support any politician who openly says they're Zionist? Why would I support anybody who supports Israel? Because Israel themselves call themselves a Zionist, a Zionist organization and government. And the core of Zionism is against everything that's America, against our Constitution, our liberties and freedoms, and just our way of life.
The first time we did our episode, I felt like it got momentum, and then I felt like it stopped on YouTube. Like, from one day to another, the views just stopped. It didn't make sense to me, and I was like, I guess maybe it makes sense that they didn't like the message, right? And then I see the Charlie Kirks, right? And sometimes Charlie Kirk has very good arguments against some of these students he goes to argue about, but then he goes right back into that fucking supporting Israel shit.
Yeah, because he himself is Jewish. And, like, let's not forget.
And and I get that, but like, some of his arguments and stuff are good and everything. But what the okay, this is my question here. What the fuck does us supporting Israel have to do with the greatness of our country, of what's currently going on in America? Like, why do we have to base our ways of being and our ways of living around how we? Well, first, let's find out, who do you support? Before you start recording this podcast over there
with Israel?
Yeah, what the fuck, man? Like, we look at the flag on your hat. That's what we should be worried about right now. Is do you stand with America?
Why do we have the candidates for the mayor of New York answering the question all in the same way, like robots, when the interviewer was saying, as the mayor of New York, what would be the first place you visit? And every one of them sits there, and I would visit Israel because they're our greatest ally. I would visit Israel because, well, we have to defend these people. I would visit Israel. Every one of them down the line like robots, until it got to that Zoran Mamdani guy.
Yeah.
And he was like, I'm going to stay right here in New York because I got 200,000 New Yorkers that count on me.
That's who's important.
And guess what? That guy basically is won the primary, and now he's about to become the mayor.
That's like saying, if we get a hurricane right now, well, all right, hold on, let me go check on Tel Aviv, make sure they're good before I come check on you. Like, that's basically what you're saying.
You got the official spokeswoman for the State Department that said America is the greatest country in the world next to Israel, quote unquote. Why do you have to add that last part? Why can't just America be the greatest country on earth? Yeah. Why do you have to add? Because the person that has put you in your position has forced you to say that.
You know who I give props to the other day? Because I know Sean Ryan. I feel like Sean Ryan's views, he tweeted the other day on X, or tweet, whatever you want to call it now, because it's different, where he was like, we're tired of fighting fake wars and stuff like that, and he's not wrong. He's not wrong.
For that.
I give him props on that, but I don't like the fact that he's still running away from conversations like these on his podcast, because he has power now. He does. A lot of people watch his stuff, and I really wish he could have like
but it depends on where he gets his power from.
Yeah, it's true.
That depends.
But what I give props to, the other guy that I truly give props to the other day was Tucker Carlson. The way he fucking steamrolled Cruz.
Yeah.
He showed the world what these politicians look like by being cucks to the Israeli government and to AIPAC. Like he
did a really good job.
He got him so good. He exposed him so bad. Even the anger behind Cruz, because he knew he got exposed.
Yeah.
Like I bet you somebody called him after there and you were like, dude, you're a fucking idiot. Like you really just showed like
Well, he was pissed after that. If you see his tweets and everything, he's trying to defend himself on little segments through his platforms. You know.
No, I think I give.
No, they all have
props for that.
I mean, he said that his whole. Tell me this. This is Ted Cruz. He made a statement, and I'll have to paraphrase because I don't know the quote, but he said, "The whole reason I got into politics was to be the biggest advocate for Israel." That's the whole reason you got into politics? I'm sorry, because you could have went to Israel and did that.
Yeah.
But you're in America. You're an American politician, and you're putting this country before your own.
Yeah.
Why is it that we can criticize our own government, criticize our own president to the point where I can sit here and say Trump belongs in jail for bombing Iran, and you don't have to agree, but I can say that without repercussion. But if I sit here and say that Israel is a Zionist ethno-state, genocidal state, or whatever entity, then all of a sudden it's like, whoa.
Yeah, that's what I meant to ask you.
And they're trying to pass laws against anti-Semitism.
Yeah. Why? And that goes back to.
I thought we were a Christian country, bro.
Correct.
How come we're not? How come we're not making laws to protect Christians here?
I know.
Right?
Yeah.
Why are we making laws to protect Jews?
For people who are Christian who are watching this, I think people have this is how stupid people are. They think that like Israel is like made of Christianity and stuff like that.
They think Israel
is the steeple.
It's the whole Judeo-Christianity, that whole Schofield scam that a lot of our boomer grandparents fell for.
Yeah.
Where they introduced a concept of Judeo-Christianity. Sorry, Christians, but Judeo-Christianity is an oxymoron, guys. Okay? It's just Christianity. I'm sorry, but the whole Judeo-Christianity thing is a way for these Zionists to leech onto Christianity to gain sympathy for Israel as a chosen people so they can continue to do what they want to do.
Well, when you look at, for example,
Jews don't believe in Christ. They actually believe Christ is in hell, boiling in his own excrement. They think Mother Mary's a whore. I mean, this is what they believe. How can they? There's videos coming out of West Bank and other parts of Israel where they spit on on Christians. They tag and they damage the property of churches. I mean, how many churches in Gaza has the IDF bombed and obliterated? That's been there for centuries.
I mean, I don't even think anything in Gaza exists anymore.
Before October 7th, there was over 1,000 Christians in Gaza. Now there's less than half of that because half of them have been killed by the IDF.
Well, and I think what people don't see, I shouldn't say don't, because I think recently a lot of people are finally waking up when it comes to we need more people to wake up. When you look at Gaza, for example, look, I know people are like, well, Americans did it in Iraq and Afghanistan and blah, 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 too. But let's face it, the Americans did not go obliterate Baghdad to basically making every single piece of Baghdad look like just torn down rubble.
Nothing close.
There was still, how many times did you see Marines building shit for people, trying to create schools, doing all those things? The whole winning hearts and minds kind of thing, right? And I get it. There's probably some stuff that, we pissed them off. We did things that were not supposed to be right over there.
Right.
But when you look at Gaza, man, Gaza has been destroyed. You're going to tell me that you can go launch a precise strike in Iran and hit generals who are in certain apartment buildings.
Who's over 2,000 kilometers away, by the way.
Yes, but right next door, you had to drop
20 miles away.
Yeah, literally, you had to drop these 5 hundos on these people. You had to drop like 10 of them on an apartment building because the dude from Hamas was there, but he was 50 feet underground. So we had to obliterate the whole apartment building, even though we knew, okay, but you're going to...
According to every Israeli official, they do everything they can within their power to not target civilians.
No, man, it's a bullshit lie. How many kids have we seen? They're like, oh, it's all propaganda. No, it's not propaganda. There's a lot of propaganda on both sides. I get it, but dude, no, like let's not steer away the fact
They
a
expose
shit ton of
themselves.
civilians have been killed in Gaza.
Every turn they expose
Yeah,
themselves.
and it's
Every turn.
ridiculous, man, because you know when
That's why the world is waking up.
well, yeah, and when you sit here and talk about people like, oh, remember, Israel has one of the most sophisticated militaries in the world. They're good. I mean, how many people came to America that are Jewish here, or Americans that are Jewish, that they do this whole, oh, it's Israeli type tactical training, and you've seen it at some of these ranges where they
old Turkey Peak.
Yeah, dude, Krav Maga, milking people's shit, dude. And how many videos have you seen from Gaza where the IDF is in there making a fool out of themselves? You know,
Dude, IDF get Listen, here's the thing. IDF, if they had to do a ground assault, they would get handled by Hamas and the other resistance fighters.
Dude, I saw a video the other day. They're doing CQB, and the dude fell down, and he's screaming. And
they don't know how to. I'm sorry, the IDF doesn't know how to fight. Where did they get their fighting experience from? They, all they ever did was drop bombs.
Yeah,
or come in with tanks.
You would think it's funny because I heard this whole thing of like, oh, they were there in Iraq helping us.
Who?
The IDF. I'm like, that's not true.
Not as a conventional force. I think there were some IDF liaisons in Iraq.
There was, but here's the thing: is they weren't side to side kicking down doors like the United States, the Brits, the Australians.
They've never fought.
They never fought side by side with us.
They never joined us in Iraq. They never joined us in Afghanistan.
No. But they started Iraq.
Well, yeah, Bibi Netanyahu came in front of Congress in 2002 after 9/11 and said, if you take out Iraq and you take out Saddam, I guarantee it'll have positive reverberations.
And the video's been streaming and nothing has happened.
And look at Iraq today.
It's worse.
Iraq today is in shambles.
Yeah. It would have been
half organized and half influenced by Iran.
Yeah, it would have been better before when Saddam still had control. I'm not saying he was a perfect person. No, Saddam was
it's another example of our playbook, the regime change.
Yeah.
We propped Saddam up to power, and once when he wanted to stop using the US dollar and he wanted to use his old gold reserves, we made him into a bad guy, and then we took him out.
We did it in Libya too.
Yeah, Gaddafi.
Yeah, Gaddafi. Look at Libya now.
We did it in Panama. We did it in Nicaragua.
Panama was a rough one.
We did it in Iran with the Shah. I mean, the 1953 coup there was our coup. Yeah. The CIA, the Mossad, MI6. We all took the Prime Minister Mossadegh out of power. Those were the people's elected leader in Iran. They wanted that guy. They loved him. And then we took him out because he didn't want to work with us. And so we put in the Shah, who then reigned for 26 years and who neglected his people. Even though his status was being elevated in the world, his people remained poor. The resentment grew and grew and grew for 26 years in Iran. And then next thing you know, there's an Islamic revolution where they kick him out, and here comes the Ayatollah. And in some cases, people say that at the end of this 26 years of Reza Pahlavi, the Shah's reign, he was starting to now kind of turn away from us. And some people will say that we helped Ayatollah go into power. And now we got to take him out because he doesn't want to work with us. He's made that clear since 1979 when they took the embassy hostage for 15 months.
So in your opinion right now, Iran, I think we can agree that probably can use a regime change, but not with the two current candidates that they have in mind.
No, because one of them is a puppet. The other one is an extremist.
Yeah. And I think that's...
The people of Iran suffer.
Yeah.
People of Iran are suffering. And it's hard to know what the people of Iran want. They hardly let any of the communications come out of Iran.
No, people think they have like TikTok and shit like us and they can just communicate with us.
Well, they did, and they do in some ways. And, they use like VPNs to get around stuff. But like also the regime of Iran has also just cut off internet from a lot of people. Mm-hmm. So there is no internet unless you have some kind of satellite internet.
Yeah, I knew of a family.
So it's hard to know what they want. But I can tell you this much for the people of Iran, and I have lots of Persian friends, and I grew up, Afghans and Persians get along because we basically speak the same and we're neighbors, our countries. And so I have a lot of Persian friends, and they don't want neither. They want neither of them. They don't want a monarchy, and they don't want a religious extremist. They want to go back to like Prime Minister Mossadegh days where they can elect somebody who they support and love and who will put the Iranian people first. And then maybe we can work with this guy, the people's elected leader, to achieve our desired outcomes and help them flourish.
Do you think that the Israeli approach to all this is the fact that countries like Iran and all these other countries in the Middle East, because let's face it, if the Middle East can become stable and get past all this shit, the Middle East can be like the wealthiest region in the world.
Well,
They have most of the oil of the world, right? And
they are.
yeah.
That's why most of the conflict is there.
Yeah, and you think like, do you think that maybe Israel's just not wanting that because they know that they've pissed them off so much that if these countries become powerhouses, they're fucked.
No, yeah, Israel just for Israel and their self-preservation kind of mindset is they'll do anything and anything, everything and anything to ensure their survival. Taking Iran out or having a regime change in Iran, and especially putting somebody like Reza Pahlavi, the Shah's son, who is kind of the prince, I guess, putting him in power as a monarchy is just gonna give Israel control now. They're going to have control within Iran, which now allows them to expand, right? Because they already have Syria now. You got Jolani, who's already allied with them. So they got Syria expansion, and then beyond that is the Iran expansion from the north side. And so now they have more, and also, for as America, that would help us out, because if we can expand influence to Iran, then that gives us more leverage with Russia and China, right? And it weakens their alliance, that Eastern alliance. It weakens that. So it's multifaceted. And again, don't forget that, there's other power plays happening too, the financial system of Iran, right? And so that's happening as well. And the people of Iran, and they're using each other to they're doing the same thing here. The left and right divide that's been happening here for a while is also happening over there.
So another question I have for you is, do you know how many nukes Israel has?
They have over 90 warheads.
So
that came out from their own. That was leaked from their own.
Yeah. So my next thing with that is,
this episode of Calling Your Shot is brought to you by Operation Path Forward, a nonprofit based in Montana, dedicated to supporting active duty military, veterans, and first responders. Founded by Navy veteran Timothy DeMeo and his wife Tabitha, Operation Path Forward provides curated care packages and is developing a wilderness retreat in Montana to offer holistic healing through nature, community, and specialized therapies. By partnering with veteran-owned businesses and like-minded organizations, they deliver morale-boosting resources and practical gear to those who have served. To support their mission or nominate a hero for a care package, visit operationpathforward.org. Again, operationpathforward.org.
Did you know that Israel is like one of the few countries that does not follow the rules when it comes to...
No, they did not sign the non-proliferation treaty.
Yeah, they don't
allow inspectors.
Yeah.
Iran has signed the treaty. Iran does allow inspectors to come into there. And Israel denies that they have a program in the first place. Their program is very much illegal, very much. But we allow them to have it. Why is that? Why are they allowed to have nukes and enrich uranium, but Iran isn't, right? So it's a very hypocritical,
that was
double standard thing.
A fight I got into the other day with a good friend of mine, because he was like, can't let Iran have a nuke. Okay, valid point.
Why can't we, though?
Because it's the crazy guy. Like, you give him a gun at the table, he's going to probably kill people.
How do you know they already don't have them, though?
Yeah, exactly. But my point behind all that is, okay, so if that's the case, then why are we allowing Israel to have nukes and then not be under the same standards that we are?
Exactly.
Because we allow inspectors into ours.
Yeah.
We follow those rules.
We signed that treaty a long time ago.
Why don't they do it?
Why hasn't Israel signed it still?
Yeah.
Why don't they ever allow inspectors? Why did JFK get assassinated? It's because JFK tried to get them to shut down their enrichment of uranium, and they killed them. I mean, that's not the only reason they killed them, but we know that Israel had a big hand in the JFK assassination, and everything now, because of the facts that came out, make absolute sense.
So my next question to you, Kawa, is you've been very vocal on a lot of this stuff, and I appreciate that, man. That's like, we need more people like you. and you've actually helped some of my friends that are listeners channel their ways of thinking a little differently. You're radical. Apparently you're a radical, right? No,
Sure,
but
I'll take it.
no, you've excuse me. You've helped some people realize that there's more to look into than just what we're being fed.
Yeah, it's easy to call me a radical, but actually challenge me on something.
Yeah, no, and it's
Yeah.
and that's why I enjoy it, because like that's why when you were like, let's do this again, I was excited because I've seen when you post stuff on social media, and then I see when you post like people's responses. I'm like, dude, you chose a war with like, it's like showing up with like 10 dudes and you decided to come fight a brigade. Like, you're in trouble, bro. This guy reads into his shit. Like, you know, I'm fascinated by it because I love when people talk crap to you and then I see what you come back with them and I'm like, ew, you weren't ready for that one, were you? You know, because they'll come with typical things. But
I definitely don't shy away from criticism. I don't shy away from a debate.
yeah,
As long as the debate is productive
correct.
and constructive,
Yeah.
then I'm all for it, because what I see is an opportunity to educate somebody.
So my next biggest question for you is, because getting there with that, you discuss all this stuff freely. You're very vocal about it. You're very informed. And how does that make you feel knowing that you're exposing and you're helping others understand how to expose the truths behind a very, very crooked organization like the Mossad and stuff? Like, how do you feel on your movement, man? Like I know you can take care of yourself and everything, but truthfully, like, are you scared
I mean,
knowing that?
I'm not scared for myself, but I could be scared for relatives and family members.
Yeah,
Yeah, it does scare me, but then at the same time, what's the alternative?
yeah,
What's the alternative then? Do I
yeah,
just keep my mouth shut and not, I'm
correct.
part of the 99%
Yeah,
of dudes like me who won't say something because they're afraid their business is gonna decline, or they're gonna have a target painted on their back?
yeah,
Dude, I mean, by all means, we live in a world where I could get shot for way less things at a gas station.
yeah. I mean, hell, you got false arrested not too long ago. That was crazy. I saw that. I was like,
Yeah,
oh
yeah.
man, yeah,
No, I didn't want to make it a big deal, but because I had my son record the whole thing,
yeah,
because you're never too careful and you want that kind of documentation. When I looked at the footage later, I was like, this could be a learning lesson. And maybe the way I articulated that video or narrated that video kind of came off a little harsh on cops. But I think I was just principally kind of sticking the principle, saying that the protocol was a little loose, not getting patted down after getting handcuffed, not getting asked if I had firearms in the vehicle,
yeah.
because if I had firearms in the vehicle and I was actually that guy that had a warrant out for my arrest and my son was in on it,
I tripped out when I saw that.
all
Yeah.
four officers, when they walked me away, all four officers had their back turned to my son. If we were actually bad guys, my son could have grabbed a gun, got out of the car quietly, and shot all four of those officers.
You know, that's I'm so glad you brought that up, because
Just to clarify and finish this, I wasn't bashing cops. I was bashing the protocols which I experienced that night
yeah.
with those specific police officers.
Well, not to mention, everybody
also-
could be like, oh, well, not everybody's a Kawa, right? But hold on. That you don't know,
But this
right?
this is why I put it out there.
Yeah, because you don't know, and let's face it, man. If you wanted to cause havoc, I watched that video, and when I watched it, I was like, ew, officer safety does not exist on this video, because
He was very close to me when I opened my door.
super close, yeah. And then what I was noticing too is like leaning his head into your window and stuff like that. Like, yeah, you might have just looked like a chill dude that evening, but I don't know if you ever told them or anything, but that dude doesn't know that the shit that you know, the training you have, the fact that you probably were the most dangerous person in that group of people right then and there.
Well, like I said in my video, intrusive thoughts.
Yeah.
Right? I
Yeah.
scenario played stuff as things were
Yeah.
happening. And I noticed, where his gun was. I noticed all that.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean I had any ill intent. It's
Correct.
just that coming from my background, I 100% scenario.
Yeah, it's a learning experience for these guys. Pay attention to these things.
And so I put it out there, but also I put that out there because I remain calm. I remained cool and collected,
Yeah.
and I
And it worked
wanted
out.
to demonstrate that in front of my son. And yes, I could have been like, dude, I'm a Green Beret. I also could have said, hey, I know your boss,
Yeah.
like the sheriff of Harris County, like I
Yeah.
know him. I
Yeah.
could have name dropped. I
Yeah.
didn't do any of that.
Yeah.
You know, I just stayed humble
Could have been
because,
mad for the false arrest momentarily and stuff. Yeah.
you know, and I just stayed cool because like I don't want my son to, you know, get. I don't want my son to see his father get like heated and overreact, and
Correct.
then, you know, and then what does that do for me?
No, you
You know,
handled that really well,
so
man.
yeah, but the false arrest, yeah,
Okay, that's what I called the false arrest because at first I was like, oh, and then I started watching the video. I was like,
yeah,
oh, and then okay, you got like because I didn't know at first. I was like, oh, did he actually go to jail? But then I was like, oh, I saw the video, and then oh crap. But yeah, man, that's crazy, man. But it's good you reacted that way. But no, I definitely saw some officer safety stuff in there, and I think that was good that you pointed that out about it can be a learning experience, not just for the police officers, but for people who have
yeah,
probably been in this situation where maybe they did get a false arrest at that moment because it was a mistake, and then they flip out, and then they end
yeah,
up getting shot or something like that, and then
yeah,
sometimes it's okay to just shut up for a little bit and wait till things play out, because if it's truly not a reason for you to be arrested, whether it was right there, which in your situation it was right then and there when they found out, or it could have happened, in the station. I was also arrested recently at the Los Angeles International Airport. I was coming home
yeah,
from vacation, and the kids and everything, and we're there, and I said, "Hey, go get and my wife, go get food for kids and stuff," because TSA was having a problem. I lost my ID, right?
mm,
And TSA was having a problem with the boarding pass. So I had to, because I gave them my VA ID, and they're like, "Oh, that works too," but they're like, "Well, it doesn't match your boarding pass." Oh, shit! So I had to go get another boarding pass, and it was taking forever. And I was like, "Something's wrong here."
yeah,
And then TSA was like, kept calling the front from the company, the airline company, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm talking to the TSA agent right now. Like, we're trying to figure it out." And I was like, "What is there to figure out? Change it to what my ID says, and
yeah,
let's call it a day." But they're buying time. So then I ended up going back to TSA because they gave me a new boarding pass, and I get there, the LAPD officer's there, and I was like, or airport LAPD or whatever they are there, and he told me to turn around, place my hands behind my back. I was under arrest. He had a warrant for my arrest, and I was like, "What the fuck? Like, what did I do?"
yeah,
So then he starts asking me for more information, give him my date of birth and everything. I give him my social, and he's on the radio with dispatch, and he's like, he tells me, "Can you confirm your last four again?" And I do. He's like, "That's not the same." And then he starts going, and I was like, I know what it is. Long time ago, I was flying in from Mexico as well. The same situation happened. Customs like, "Hey man, does this job do a background check?" And I was like, "Yeah, we're flying private." So then when you land in the FBOs, they got to check you still and everything.
mm,
And customs like, "You got a warrant." And I was like, "What?" And then we started realizing there's a dude in California literally wanted for murder with my last name, first name, everything similar. But of course, LAPD found out it was not who that was, whatever. They were actually very nice. I stayed calm. At first I was like, but I was like, I didn't tell them anything. I stayed quiet. I'm more panicked at the fact that I'm about to miss my flight and my whole family's
yeah,
over
yeah,
there, right? So, and you know how LAX is kind of hard, especially if you're going through that tunnel. It takes forever, and you got to go get to the bus and take you
hmm,
around, whatever. The cop's like, "You're gonna miss your flight." He's like, he took me through the runway in the back. He took me and got me there, and I
yeah,
was like, "Thanks, man, I appreciate that."
yeah. That was
And he's
nice.
like, "Hey, I'm sorry, and everything." Of
Yeah,
course, I end up getting there, and my wife's like, "What the fuck?" It's like,
right, right,
so
right.
I'm not in trouble,
The
I
damage
promise.
is done.
But
Yeah,
same thing. I remain calm,
yeah.
and I didn't flip out. And normally I would flip out, but I didn't. And because I know I didn't do anything wrong.
Well, it's funny, right? When you know you haven't done anything wrong,
There isn't.
there's
Yeah,
no reason to get angry and stuff.
yeah.
I mean, when he
Because the
was
truth will come out.
in that video, you see when
Yeah,
he was placing the handcuffs on my, literally clamping them down, I had a smile on my face
yeah,
because I was just like, dude, you guys are so
right.
effed up on this one, but it's okay. I'll play
Yeah,
by the rules.
yeah,
I went and sat in the back of his patrol car for 15 minutes until he called that county and verified with that dispatcher my name and this and that.
yeah,
And at that point, I had stopped answering questions. He was trying to get my social. I said, I'm not answering any more questions. You got my name, you have my address, you have everything you need. And if they're saying that's not me, then that's it.
yeah.
And I happened to hear just the ending of that call. And so I knew that was mistaken identity. I didn't have to escalate. Now, had I been an actual bad guy and I had a warrant out for my arrest and I had these capabilities, that would have turned out maybe a lot differently.
Oh yeah,
You know?
it could have been a bad day for those guys.
But that's why I'm not bashing on them, because at the end of the day, they played it safe. And most of the cops on that post were supportive of me and how I handle things and my assessment of it. And then I had some cops that got that took it in the wrong way. And we had some conversations, or not. But yeah, I'd rather
I
for
don't
you
see.
guys, I'd rather for the cops to be safe
Yeah,
at the end of the day than to take more risk
it's
than,
definitely a perfect learning scenario for
yeah,
them, because in this case, like you said, you were not a bad guy. You didn't go out there and start fighting them or anything, but you
yeah.
also pointed out their vulnerabilities.
Yeah, I mean, you didn't
You
ask.
and
Yeah,
the suspect, where you got to see, oh, I could do this, I could do that. Look at this guy. He's,
yeah.
you know,
No, I saw their
yeah.
positioning. I saw everything. I mean, everything was.
At first, I thought it was like, could this be staged? Like, was this like legit?
That's what
Like,
somebody else said too.
yeah, it is like, is this staged? Because they're so like
It's
laid
fake.
back, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was like, holy crap, man. But man, it's been awesome to have you, man. Like, I really wanted to bring you back on so we can, because I feel like last time we didn't touch up on the whole Israel and all that stuff. Like, not necessarily like the conflict, because we all know the conflict's there. It's all
It's
that
there.
stuff. But
It's gonna be there.
what I wanted to bring out more was for people to see how fucked up things are, not just of what's going on the ground, but what
Mhm.
we're being fed, how we're being fed. And I want people to start to see these things and say, hey, you know what? I should get on Chat GPT or GBT. I should get on Google. I should research
Yeah,
or
just
watch Tantura, right? Like, all these different things,
yeah,
man.
like you have to put in a little bit of time, guys. I mean, this is your future after all.
Yeah.
Like, this is the future of your children. Ask yourself, is today's America the type of America I want my kids to grow up in? And if it's not, then why aren't you as a parent doing something about it? You
Yeah.
know? And that could be just you educating yourself. I'm not saying go create signs and march on the street. I'm saying just take the time to use the smart devices you have to pick a topic and go down a couple of rabbit holes. And the more rabbit holes you go down, the more you'll be able to decipher the bullshit from the truth. And then now you're better set up to take in the super information highway that we live in, bro.
Correct.
And that's all it takes. But again, most people don't have time for that.
Do you think that a lot of, and for listeners who didn't listen to the last podcast and are very judgmental on where you get your information from and stuff like that, where did your beginning of all that information start to come from, like in your past? Because I know in your professional career a lot of this stuff came up.
So it started when I went to the 18 Fox course in Special Forces.
Okay.
Well, I was an 18 Bravo, a weapons sergeant. And then in 2013, I went to the Fox course. And when you go to the Fox course, the whole point of that is to learn how to become an intelligence sergeant in 18 Fox. And so a lot of it is looking at reports and doing assessments. A lot of it is getting on DoD software and applications that have different capabilities, and being able to see like the red side information that's coming in versus the white side or green side information that's coming in, and being read on to certain programs that you have to have security clearances for. And in that school, everybody that comes into that school has to have a TSSCI. And so because of the information that's presented and the applications that you're using to now, for the next 4 months, build a PowerPoint presentation on the country that you're assigned to.
And which country were you assigned to?
Lebanon.
Okay.
Yeah. But the two guys on my left and right both had Israel. And then because Lebanon borders with Israel, basically, like we
So much,
have,
yeah.
we share information.
You probably had to work together quite a few.
And so we're working off the same platforms and software and this and that. And so that's just how it is. Like, I learned so much about the Israel, Lebanon, Palestine, Lebanon, everybody else, Egypt. I learned Jordan. I learned so much about all that in those 4 months, because that's all I did for like 10 hours a day was just sit behind. I was like a desk nerd, just building this presentation that I didn't have to present to the school leadership and some VIP guests that they normally. And the whole thing is taking all the information of this country and then bringing it back down to an ODA level. Okay, so this is what the demographic for this is, and this is the threats, and this is the friendlies, and this is the whoever. And then it's like, well, how does that affect the ODA when they're operating in that country? How does it affect the ODA when they're training in that country? You know what? So that's what it was, and that is what really kind of opened my eyes to now start going down my own route with research and getting information to understand.
Not just looking at memes and basing your stuff
It
off.
wasn't open source, I'll tell you that
Yeah,
much. I
yeah.
wasn't looking at, I didn't start
Yeah.
out looking at open source.
Yeah.
But open source is what brought me to a bigger understanding because of like the early days was Twitter. I used to follow a lot of independent journalists on X, well, Twitter back then.
Yeah.
And a lot of their when I'm hearing from different journalists who are independent of one another the same information, you know, then it's easy to kind of identify or dual source or triple source that information a little bit, you know.
So another question that I've wanted to ask you, you know, you being an Afghan American, you're born in Afghanistan,
Yeah.
and you came here early. You've pretty much been in the military since the start of 9/11.
Before.
Yeah, actually, you were before, because I remember you said you were in the
Like a year before.
Yeah, you had just gotten in the Marine Corps. It was your birthday, right? Like, yeah, 9/11 happened. Yeah, so you know, you've lived this whole you know, conflict, and you lived it in the military. What was it like? Because I got to ask this, and I was like, man, you know, that's a good question to ask him. Actually, a neighbor of mine said, how did he feel when he was in Afghanistan fighting against, you know, the Taliban and stuff like that? Like, because for people that judge you and have a lot to say about you, like, you at one point were shooting your gun at other people who are, you know, like you from that region or
Right.
whatnot, right? So what did it feel like being in that situation, knowing that you're a Muslim? Because remember, people will try to tie the religion thing, but let's take
Right.
that out, right? But you can relate to those guys to a certain extent, right? How did it feel?
Well, I think by the time I got to Afghanistan, I was a Green Beret.
Yeah,
Because all my conventional Marine Corps deployments were Iraq.
yeah,
So my first trip to Afghanistan was with my ODA in 2008. And it was surreal to first get there, you know, not having been back there since I was a kid, 3 years
Yeah.
old when I left. Getting back there now as an adult and as a Green Beret, it was surreal. But once we started working with our Afghan ANA or commandos and some of the police, Afghan police, and we started going to these villages and understanding the type of relationship and dynamic that they had with the Taliban, the villages.
yeah,
Right. When we understood that the Taliban were treating them like shit, at that point, it didn't matter to me what they were. It didn't matter to me that they were Afghan or Muslim or whoever. It didn't matter.
yeah,
Because when I'm sitting here with the village elders of these villages and they're saying, hey, those coats and jackets and shoes and the stationery for the kids, the crayons, the markers, all of that stuff that you gave us, the humanitarian aid items that you guys gave us, when you guys left, the Taliban came down here and they put it all in the pile and they burned it all, and then they beat the village elders from accepting that in the first place. At that point, I had my mind made up. I was like, no, dude. You cannot sit there and claim that you are Muslim and then sit there and beat this elderly man because we basically put pressure on him to take these coats for his children or the kids in the village,
yeah.
or the shoes or the crayons or the stationery, the soccer balls. You cannot sit here and beat that. No, again, no Muslim. I'm not the perfect Muslim. I'm not even a very good Muslim, maybe, but I sure as hell wouldn't beat an elderly man and then after that call myself a Muslim. So at that point, it didn't matter to me what your religion or your race was.
Open season.
All I knew is that you were hurting these people. You were taking stuff. These kids are freezing in the winter of Afghanistan. Afghanistan has brutal winters.
Yeah.
You know, especially in some parts where it was mountainous and stuff. These kids need those coats. They need those shoes. You're gonna sit here and put them in a pile and burn them, but yet you're saying that you are the actual leadership of this country, and you're a Muslim, dude. Fuck off. You know? So it was very easy to me at that point because I had this battle within me to fight other Muslims and stuff. I dealt with that a long time ago as a Marine in Iraq.
Yeah.
I dealt with that.
Yeah.
I was way past that now.
But did at that time it bother you a little bit when you?
Well, yeah, I struggled during the
Yeah.
invasion of Iraq in 2003. I mean, at one point I was like, wait, holy shit, I'm shooting at other Muslims.
Yeah.
And I had more legitimate concerns back then because this was an Iraqi army. These weren't insurgents that came here as a playground to kill Americans.
Yeah.
These were dudes that fucking signed up for their country to defend their country. And in their eyes, we were the foreign occupiers.
Yeah.
We were the invaders. So they were just doing what they thought was right.
Yeah.
And I had a way bigger problem than killing Iraq's army soldiers than I did with killing Taliban or insurgents later on in Iraq.
Did Iraq change for you also when you started realizing you're fighting like Al Qaeda that was there as well, and you know,
It very much changed, yeah.
Yeah.
Once I got past that little hurdle, because it wasn't like a big thing.
because in you were part of the initial invasion, so
Right.
like people don't realize there was still Iraqi military at the time.
No, in 2003 when we invaded Iraq, it was all Iraqi Republican Guard all the way up to Baghdad, and then some remnants of it after Baghdad.
Yeah.
But then after that, it was all insurgency.
Insurgency. Yeah.
So yeah, I have some guilt
Yeah.
from shooting at and killing Iraqi Republican Guard because again, those guys were just their military,
Guys like us, they signed
defending
up.
their country, keeping their families safe. So I have guilt there for doing that. But then 2004 Operation Phantom Fury, where we're now fighting Zarqawi's guys,
Yeah.
and it's all insurgents.
I forgot about Zarqawi.
I had no guilt shooting those guys in the face, Muslim or not,
Yeah.
because you're not here to help the Iraqi people. Just like the Taliban aren't there to help the Afghan people, just like Jolani's regime is not there to help the Syrian people, and just like, and what we're trying to do in Iran.
So when you were in Afghanistan, you were with Fifth Group? Is that right?
Fifth Group.
Yeah, Fifth Group.
Fifth
You-
Special Forces.
Yeah, it's neat to see what a lot of the ODAs did in Iraq or Afghanistan. Like they had a lot of unique, like I know a lot of guys that I talked to from Seventh Group, got to hear what they had done, and
A lot
then
of VSO.
yeah, and then I hear some of I've heard Fifth Group stuff, like at one point they're like Fifth Group's over there dressing like the Taliban, snatching dudes up and stuff like that, and it's like everybody had their own little thing they're doing out there. Like MARSOC had their own thing going for a while. Everyone has
SEALs.
everybody
got playtime in Afghanistan.
Yeah.
Afghanistan falls into the Middle East, which is kind of Fifth Group's AO, but Third Group got love in Afghanistan. Seventh Group, First Group, 10th Group, Reserve, 19th, 20th, Special Forces got some love there. Navy SEALs, PJs, everybody got love there. And what I mean by love is just time and country to do what they do, right?
Yeah.
So
do you and you're still with what, 20th Group? Is that what it is? Or
I'm 19th.
19th Group, 19th.
Yeah, National Guard.
20th, this is like in Colorado,
Reserve.
Right? Is it in? Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
20th is Reserve Special Forces. 19th is National Guard
National
Special
Guard.
Forces.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what could you say for guys who are on the fence right now? These young kids. I have a kid who listens to this, and he's 21 now, and he's considering the military. But what's your word of advice for them? Given it's a different
the command climate of the military.
Yeah.
My advice to you guys is to follow your dreams. If the military is your passion, as it was mine, I would have skipped college and joined out of high school if it wasn't for my mom. But making a promise to her, I finished college and then I joined. So if that's your passion, then chase it. I don't regret my time in the military, not one bit. I learned a lot of very valuable things. I picked up a lot of cool skill sets. I worked with amazing different agencies, both domestic and international. I met amazing men who I served with who are 10 times better than me. And at the end of it, I gained a lot of real world experience, not to mention I got to go to 39 different countries in the 23 years I was in the military. So I got to see an entire part of the world that your average American doesn't.
Yep.
So I would say if you want to join the military, to do it, because there's still a lot of experience to be had there. Plus there's still a lot of benefits. And if you want to make a career out of it, then cool, make a career out of it. But at the same time, don't let the military corrupt your morals and your principles by which you stand for. And don't allow the military to affect you in a way where it takes you away from your family, because that's the biggest problem, especially in special operations, is it takes you away from your family. and there's a high divorce rate in special operations because of that. But follow your dreams, guys. If you want to join the military, do it. I mean, my oldest son wanted to join the Air Force for the longest time.
Yeah.
And I was for it. I was like, look, if you want to join the Air Force, cool, man, go ahead. And then he changed his mind. I also supported that. I got another cousin in Seattle that's about to graduate from Special Forces and become a Green Beret, and I got another cousin that's in the Air Force in San Antonio right now. So the military is a great place to be. And honestly, it's an honorable service still to this day. And if you end up going to some country for another conflict, then you're going to have to just address that when the time comes on how you feel. But I don't think we're going to see a foreign conflict here anytime soon.
At least boots on the ground. No, I don't think
I don't
so.
see it. No, special
might be through the
operations,
air.
boots on the
Yeah.
ground, but not conventional forces.
No, I don't either. So
Yeah.
my last one for you, man, is what could you tell the listeners on this podcast about how to just be as human beings, like me and you right now, a Christian and a Muslim sitting down talking? Like, what's your biggest recommendation for people who are on the fence and are now starting to realize, man, maybe I've just been lied to this whole time? Like, what's your recommendation for these people to just do moving forward?
I mean, listen, unless you're growing up in a barn, then you are in a place where there is civilization around you. And I encourage conversations to be had. If you want to understand, then next time you see like a Muslim or someone who you perceive as a Muslim, just go up to them respectfully and say, start a conversation. You don't have to start with, "Are you Muslim?" because I have questions, but start a conversation. Be like, "Hey, I come to this coffee shop. Do you come here often?" Or, like, "How long have you been in America?" I mean, do the normal thing and just talk, right? You and I, we weren't friends till just a year ago?
A little over a year ago, yeah.
Right. And we met and we didn't know who each other was, but then we just started striking it up over a cigar.
Yeah.
And like, look at us now.
Yeah.
We have a way better understanding of who we are, each other. And look,
not once did we ask each other what religion we were either.
Not once did we ask each other, So it just takes that, guys. It takes basic communication with people you don't know. And I know that could be hard for some of you who are antisocial or just are afraid to like walk up to a person who looks Middle Eastern and just ask them questions. But I think that's what you need to do. If you truly want to understand, it's either you get to the super information highway of the internet and you take that route, or you talk to somebody that you interact with, maybe a coworker, and that's it. And if you strike enough conversations with that person or enough of those people, you really start to come to some conclusive thoughts about, wow, I was really right about this, or wow, I was really wrong about this. And thank you for enlightening me, or, and that's how it is. And you don't have to agree. It's just because they say, well, I don't do this, or I believe in this. You don't have to sit there and agree with them. You just have to respect that that's what they feel like, or that's what they believe in. And then they have to respect you. And then that's it. The common ground is just the acknowledgement of one another. That's it. Not trying to say that we have to agree on everything, Chris, but you and I acknowledge each other, don't we?
Correct.
And that's it. That's enough for us to build rapport.
Yeah.
And I think most people just are afraid to do that. But at the same time, it's easy for them to quickly output something. Yeah. There's very little input, but then their output it's an echo chamber.
Yep.
It doesn't hurt. I mean, it doesn't help. It hurts. So.
Well, I appreciate it, Kawa. Like, it's been an honor again, honestly, and again, thank you for your friendship, man. It's been great to have you as a friend. I know we chat every now and then and stuff, and it's been cool to have you on the side and be able to like look at how you perceive things and how you put them out there. Because even if I don't like, there was a post one time, I don't even remember what it was anymore, but I was like, this fucker, like, I don't agree with that. Mm-hmm. But what did I do is I went over there and I started looking into that. And I started looking into my own reasons why don't I truly agree? Is it because of my personal biases or what? Like, why don't I agree? And that's how we should all be, right? Because, for right now, if I say, hey, let's go eat an In-N-Out burger, and you're like, no, I want to go to Whataburger. There's a disagreement. That doesn't mean we got to hate each other, right? We just did not agree with each other at that moment. Yeah. It's the same thing with a lot of these life politics and all that stuff, right? And I wish people can stop
letting politics have an influence in their livelihoods. You know, I have close friends where, you know, one of their family members has completely created some chaos in their family because one person in the family's, you know, significant other voted for Donald Trump and they didn't like that. And it's now become like a family feud almost. And it's sad to
Right.
see that, right? Because it shouldn't be that way. We shouldn't be fighting amongst each other for the people that are up there that really truly don't care about us.
Yeah.
And so I really, what I really wanted out of this podcast, and I hope we got today, was you showing people that it's okay to see this shit and disagree with it and come out and speak about it.
Mhm.
But also, if you're going to speak about it, educate yourself properly on it as well,
Right.
too, you know?
Right. I hope that I kind of conveyed that message throughout the podcast.
Yeah. I think that's really what I wanted to get. And I think we've hit on it because one, we weren't really truly like, oh, you know, let's get on there and talk about Netanyahu and fucking how much of an asshole he is. And no, like I think we were very neutral on it, and that's why I wanted you on here, man, because you know I think you have a lot of stuff and a lot of knowledge, and I would love to see you on a bigger platform, you know, to be able to share this so that people can start to see this and understand it even at a higher level. Because just seeing the handful of people that I know that watched our first podcast, like, literally be like, yeah, man, that guy opened my eyes up to a lot of shit. And I'm like, well, shit, hell yeah, that's good. So hopefully this one does the same thing and starts to encourage people to look at those things. But, you know, I mean, you made me step up my shoe game today, you know, like last time I was like, damn, I got to bring some nice shoes this time.
I see you over there, man. I see you.
Yeah, I was like, last time I was like, damn, Kawa showed up with the shoes. I was like, not this time. I'm going to show up with the shoes too. And then I look and I was like, all right, we're going there, right? But cool, man. I appreciate that, man. And I look forward to continuing a friendship with you, man. And I still want you to actually go take me somewhere, whether family, friends, or a restaurant, to actually have Afghan food. Like every time you're posting that, I'm like, damn, bro, like you sick invite. I think I sent you that. So it's like, sick invite.
That kind of stung. I was like, oh,
I was like,
yeah,
damn.
you're right.
Yeah.
No, for sure, man. We need to. I mean, I know life gets busy.
Oh, it is, dude. Especially you.
And the more we talk, the more we'll kind of coordinate something like that. But I appreciate you having me on again.
Yeah.
I appreciate giving me your platform to speak on. The questions were all, I say, very fair and very relevant questions. And none of them, I was happy to answer them. Hopefully I answered them as much as I can. And I know that some of them are like, we would need probably hours to get into like Sharia law and all that.
That's one. Yeah.
But you know, it's a starting point, hopefully, for your audience. And I'm obviously, you guys can reach out to me through Chris or reach out to me independently, but I'm always down for a good conversation if it's going to help you guys understand. But yeah, man, with that, thank you again.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you very much. And like I said, thank you for opening up that rabbit hole for me to not be afraid to actually tackle this and not be like, oh, that might hurt my following. Like, I appreciate that, man. Cause
we gotta, I mean, you know, at the end of the day, you got to stand for something. You can't always just stay in the middle. It doesn't work. You'll grow old one day and you'll be like, man, I could have done something and I didn't.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to do my part and not just educate people, but do my part in society where I want a better life for my kids.
Yep.
The only reason I do this is because I'm trying to wake people up. So together, when more people wake up, we actually can make some influence and change in this country that will have our lineage from now on, our kids and grandkids, a better life.
Yeah.
Because if we don't say anything and the things keep continuing down this road in 20, 30 years, they're right. We're not going to own anything. And we're going to be slaves to this economy and slaves to this society, and everything's going to be monitored and surveilled, and all of our freedoms and rights will go away. And next you know, we're some sci-fi movie that you see where people are living in cubicles with no sunlight.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it's going to turn into. Hunger Games, maybe.
Yeah. It's true, man.
And that's all I can do. If I had all the money in the world and I had all the influence in the world, trust me, I would be doing a lot more. But I'm just doing something, whatever I can.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate it, Kawa.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, man. It's an honor again.
Thank you.
And to many more, man.
Yes.
Awesome.
Till the next one. Cheers,
Thanks.
guys.